Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The 9 reincarnations are unleashed, and the sickly villain Heroine arrives. Chapter 41. The moment Zhang Qianqiu reappeared, the whole world of immortal cultivation was trembling. Everyone felt the uneasiness in their hearts. A large cloud spread and covered the whole world, and the breath of death surrounded everyone's heart. A figure appeared in the minds of the cultivators again. Tianji Pavilion. An old man in seclusion suddenly opened his eyes, and the next moment his figure quickly appeared in the air. Looking at the terrifying cloud covering the sky, the old man's eyes were horrified. The air was filled with the breath of destruction. The next moment, 4 figures, 2 men and 2 women, appeared beside the old man. They are the most powerful group in the entire world of immortal cultivation, and they are also the 5 strongest sects. They are Tianji Pavilion, Qiguang Holy Land, Taishuan Sect, Ji Family Holy Land and Shuiyu Palace. The 5 people all looked at it with a solemn look on their faces. Thunder rolled faintly in the dark clouds, raging violently. The terrifying sense of oppression was like a mountain pressing down on the hearts of the 5 people. Since they successively became Mahayana realms and were admired by thousands of people, they have never felt this sense of oppression again. Now the breath of death gradually surrounded them. What should we do? A beautiful girl in the team asked. The person who spoke was Ji Lin, the ancestor of Ji Family Holy Land. Although she still looked like a girl, her actual age was more than 3,000 years old. What else can we do? Let's fight, the ancestor of Taishuan Sect, Li Xuanzong, said coldly. Like a sharp sword, carrying a sharp edge that soars into the sky. Since it's here, let's make the best of it. I haven't fought for thousands of years. Are we 5 people afraid of her alone? Kai Guang Patriarch echoed. I will never compromise. Shuiyu Palace Patriarch said coldly. Then fight, each of you go back and bring your clan's Taoist tools together. The old man of Tianji Pavilion said. Then the 4 figures disappeared instantly. After a few people left, the old man of Tianji Pavilion looked worried. Is it here after all? It was the future he deduced at the beginning, but the few people failed to suppress her in the battle 10 years ago, and instead made her disappear in the world of immortal cultivation. The old man of Tianji Pavilion did not hesitate to consume a lot of origin to deduce again, but the result he got was darkness, as if there was an invisible hand covering her. Since then, the elder of Tianji Pavilion knew that day would come eventually, but he never expected that day to come so soon. This person seemed destined to be the Lord of Destiny in this world in the future, and the endless darkness of nothingness would submerge him. The elder of Tianji Pavilion could not find a way to crack it, and they were like dead chess pieces on a chessboard. But now that they are here, the 5 people, as the strongest group in the world of immortal cultivation, are destined not to sit and wait for death. Whether this battle will lead to destruction or rebirth, the old man does not know. But the entire world of immortal cultivation is destined to face destruction and collapse. Zhang Qianqiu came out of the dark ruins and brought Di Jing to start her road to destroying the world. The first stop is naturally the Netherworld sect. With her current realm, she can cross the speed of time in just one breath. When Zhang Qianqiu appeared above the Netherworld sect, the terrifying momentum instantly overwhelmed the barrier protecting the sect. Qi Tianxia, who was in retreat, was shocked. He felt the breath of death locking him tightly. Qi Tianxia immediately walked out of the retreat and came to the sky above the Netherworld sect. He was shocked by the scene in front of him. The sky outside fell into darkness, and the world seemed to have become an abyss. Endless depression and fear crept into his heart. Not far in front of him stood a girl, with a terrifying aura. Next to the girl, there was a young man holding her arm intimately. The black thunder surrounded her body like stars, and each one carried a powerful power. Qi Tianxia recognized the girl. She was the one who was hunted by the entire cultivation world 10 years ago, and also the one who killed his apprentice. At this moment, Qi Tianxia's forehead was sweating, and fear was firmly fixed on his body like a maggot attached to his bones. The cultivation of the tribulation period was suppressed to death, and there was only a great fear of life and death in his heart, without a trace of resistance. How could a weak ant have any idea about the mountain? Now Qi Tianxia is that weak ant, and fear has already drowned him. Senior, Qi Tianxia said with a stiff face. I once said that I would kill you in 5 years. Although it takes a long time, it is not too late. Zhang Qianzhou's black eyes were filled with bloodthirsty killing intent. Senior, it was all a misunderstanding before. It was me who was ignorant. Please don't remember the faults of others. Qi Tianzhi's face froze and he quickly said in panic. 13 years ago, Qi Tianxia still scoffed at Zhang Qianzhou's words that he would be killed in 5 years. Zhang Qianzhou, who was only in the divine transformation realm at the beginning, failed to see how powerful this person was in just 13 years. You deserve to die, and the Netherworld sect must be destroyed. Zhang Qianzhou's voice was as cold as the god of death when he pronounced the sentence. Boom! A black thunder struck down in the sky shrouded in darkness. Qi Tianzhi's expression changed drastically, and he immediately prepared to escape. But before he could react, his whole body was completely destroyed. A deep pit was blasted where it was, and the remaining thunder power spread to the distance. A deafening roar sounded in the Netherworld sect, and the sect with thousands of disciples was instantly wiped out. Sir, this is the first one. Zhang Qianzhou gently held Shen Shuchou's face and said softly. Fairy Xiao stared at the darkness above her head, feeling uneasy growing in her heart. From what the ancestor just said, we learned that the little girl from 10 years ago returned again and was able to alarm the 5 strongest people in the world of immortality. The next moment, a figure appeared in the sky above Shuiyu Palace. Fairy Xiao felt something and quickly flew into the air. Fairy Xiao looked at the figure not far away with mixed feelings in her heart. She didn't expect that she just killed a mortal but indirectly created a terrifying existence. Even though she had practiced Taisheng Wangqinglu to the point of abandoning all emotions in the world, fear still emerged in her heart when facing this person. Sir, she was the one who killed you in the first place. Qianzhou will avenge you now. Zhang Qianzhou was filled with murderous intent. She had been waiting for this day for a long time. 20 years ago, they took away the most important person from Zhang Qianzhou, and from that moment on, their future destruction was doomed. Is it worth it to be immortal in the future? Feeling the murderous intent in Zhang Qianzhou's body, Fairy Xiao's scalp went numb and she spoke first. A person who has no feelings for you won't understand. You took away my favorite husband, so today I will destroy your entire sect. Zhang Qianzhou's cold murderous intention was like a curtain coming down on him. Zhang Qianzhou handed her to me. Yu Ning is already dead. Just when Zhang Qianzhou was about to take action, a voice came from behind Fairy Xiao. Listening to this familiar voice, Fairy Xiao looked back in astonishment on her pretty face. Wen Qingning's face was cold and her eyes were filled with murderous intent, and she stood holding the scabbard. Wen Qingning, what do you want to do? Fairy Xiao said with an ugly expression. Wen Qingning said coldly, send you down to confess for your sister. I am your mother, and you actually want to kill me. Fairy Xiao said in disbelief. From the moment you killed Yu Ning, you were no longer my mother. It's a pity that I have always been too obsessed with love and abandoned my feelings. Now I will kill you to avenge Yu Ning. There was no other emotion in Wen Qingning's eyes except murderous intent. I taught you all your skills. Why should you kill me when you are only in the integration stage? Fairy Xiao seemed to have heard a huge joke. I originally planned to keep accumulating strength, but now I don't need to because you are afraid in your heart. Wen Qingning gently stroked the scabbard and said, I'm afraid. Do you think she, a little girl, can really do anything good? Fairy Xiao's face turned extremely ugly when her inner thoughts were revealed. It was undeniable that Zhang Qianzhou's appearance and the terrifying pressure between life and death really made her feel scared. You know why I have never unsheathed this sword, because my hatred and regret have been stored in it for 13 years. I name the scabbard for Qing Ning, the blade for Yu Ning, and the blade of the sword for Shu Chu. It can be considered the last thing I do for Yu Ning as my sister. Wen Qingning gently drew her sword. A sword light shot into the sky, briefly dispelling the boundless darkness. A sharp sword that has been gathering dust for many years will now show its unparalleled edge. Wen Qingning's whole body was condensed with thousands of sword intentions, and her momentum was rising steadily at this moment. When Zhang Qianzhou heard that Wen Yuning had died, his body suddenly shook. There were mixed feelings in my heart, but when the Tianwu dynasty separated, it was the difference between life and death. Feeling the sword intent below, Zhang Qianzhou did not attack Fairy Xiao again. At this moment, 5 powerful figures appeared on the horizon in front of Zhang Qianzhou. The old man in Tianji Pavilion looked at Zhang Qianzhou, who was like a demon standing between heaven and earth. Zhang Qianzhou looked at the people with cold black pupils and said lightly, "With the essence of the five of you, plus the entire cultivation world as nourishment, it is enough to help me reach the Emperor realm." He did not take the 5 strongest people who were waiting in a serious battle seriously. "How dare you? Why waste your words on her?" Quote. The irritable Taishuan sect ancestor snorted coldly. Suddenly, a sword intent that soared into the sky rose from his body, and the dazzling sword light bloomed in the darkness, coming straight at him with an unstoppable force. Roar! A shocking roar came from the dark clouds behind Zhang Qianzhou. A huge figure like an iron tower rushed out, and a huge palm that covered the sky blocked the sword. "Kill him! How can you bully the weak with the many? Do you think your grandfather Tiger doesn't exist? That old man, you like to play with swords, why don't you play with your grandfather?" Di Jing laughed grimly. The terrifying demonic energy erupted, and the cultivation of the peak period of Mahayana was no less than that of anyone on the opposite side. "A beast dares to challenge me, and I don't think it's bloody to kill you with my sword." Quote. The Taishuan sect patriarch said coldly. This remark immediately angered Di Jing, and the fierce aura covered the sky like a big net. The Taishuan patriarch was not afraid at all, and the sharp sword intent fought against the demonic aura. "If you retreat now, the past will be forgiven. Otherwise, even if you have reached the half-step Emperor realm, the 5 of us may not be able to kill you." The Tianji Pavilion patriarch ignored the two and still wanted to dissuade Zhang Qianzhou. "This old man is too bullying, my lord, I can help you stop too." Di Jing cursed. Zhang Qianzhou did not put the old man's words in his ears, but turned around and looked at Shen Shuqiu with a gentle face and said, "Don't be afraid, sir, wait for Qianzhou obediently, Qianzhou will be back soon." Quote. Then Zhang Qianzhou placed Shen Shuqiu in the dark clouds for protection. This time, he faced several people calmly. His dark eyes were gentle as water in the last second, and as cold as falling into the underworld in the next second. "For my husband, so you all die." Zhang Qianzhou's face was crazy, and the next moment his body bloomed like a petal, and countless black thunders poured out from the inside out. Boom! Thunder and lightning flashed in the dark clouds above the sky, and in an instant, a large amount of thunder power poured down like heavy rain. For a while, countless sects in the entire cultivation world were turned into dust under the baptism of black thunder. Seeing this scene, the face of the old ancestor of Tianji Pavilion changed, and he no longer hesitated. "Do it." Quote. A mirror appeared in the hands of Patriarch Kai Guang, and after injecting his true energy, a beam of light appeared and enveloped Zhang Qianzhou and the others. The next second, Zhang Qianzhou and the elders from the 5 holy places appeared in the world in the mirror. "I said that if we really start fighting, the 5 of us may not be able to kill you. This mirror is in the Xuanji realm. This realm is equivalent to a small heaven. You should also feel that your strength has been weakened." The patriarch of Tianji Pavilion said. "Old Tianji, stop talking nonsense. It's better to solve it as soon as possible." The patriarch of Taishuan sect took the lead in attacking, and countless sword chi attacked Zhang Qianzhou. The remaining 4 also used various means to attack Zhang Qianzhou together. Zhang Qianzhou's black eyes were as cold as the abyss, and his 3,000 black hair fluttered without wind. The terrifying black thunder condensed around him, and the breath of destruction rolled in. Outside, Di Jing looked at the empty sky and suddenly cursed angrily, "It's so despicable." Quote. Then Emperor Jing looked worried again. "Master, you must win." The brown pupil saw the Shuiyu palace below and stepped down immediately. The fierce demonic energy spread, and the giant palm that covered the sky and the sun slapped more than half of them dead and injured on the spot. The entire Shuiyu palace was in chaos, and the magnificent palace was smashed like tofu dregs. How could these cultivators be the opponent of Emperor Jing? He could kill more than half of them with one palm. "You are afraid, right?" Wen Qingning's momentum was still rising at this moment, and soon he broke through the fusion stage and crossed into the cave realm. The sword burst into an unparalleled edge, and it approached the fairy Xiaoyu step by step. "How dare you? I am your mother, do you want to kill your mother?" Quote. Fairy Xiaoyu's fear was growing rapidly at this moment. The main focus of the Tai Sheng Wang Qinglu is to abandon the 7 emotions and 6 desires to increase the strength of cultivation. At this moment, she was disturbed by the appearance of Zhang Qianqiu, even though she was already the tribulation stage still couldn't resist the fear between life and death. Now he only had the strength of the tribulation stage but couldn't fully exert it. On the contrary, Wen Qingning in front of him showed a momentum that was not incompatible with his realm. The long sword in his hand brought her the breath of death. It's not the moment you killed Yu Ning. Wen Qingning raised the long sword lightly with extremely cold eyes. Clang! In the dark hall, a flash of sword light lit up. This sword cuts off the past. The terrifying sword energy tore the galaxy apart, and the star stream struck directly at Fairy Xiao. The expression on Fairy Xiao's beautiful face changed drastically, and she quickly made a move to resist. Boom! In an instant, a deep crack was cut under Fairy Xiao's feet, and the whole person flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Puff! A mouthful of blood overflowed from the corner of her mouth. Looking at the gradually approaching Wen Qingning, the shock in her heart is self-evident. This sword alone injured her. This sword cuts off all emotions, love, hatred, and vengeance. Wen Qingning did not stop, and raised the sword again to cut it down. The sword spirit was even more brilliant than before, and the 3,000 sword chi pierced the sun and cut down. Fairy Xiao had no thought of resisting this sword, and turned around to escape. But this sword chi was too fast, and it appeared behind her almost instantly. The danger of death was pressing on her heart, and even the air around her was cut by this sharp sword chi. Ah! This sword directly cut the fleeing Fairy Xiao to the ground. The bright red blood stained her whole body, and Fairy Xiao was weak and dying. I am your mother, you can't kill me, you can't kill me. Fairy Xiao's face was distorted with fear. Wen Qingning looked down at this biological mother. In the past, she was so high and mighty as if she were a fairy who did not care about the world, but now she has fallen into such a miserable state. Facing the plea for mercy from Fairy Xiao, Wen Qingning had no emotion. Her cold heart completely disappeared after Yu Ning's death, and the reason she was still alive was because of the hatred that supported her. Combining this hatred with the past of the two sisters, Wen Qingning raised her sword again indifferently. You can't kill me, I am your mother, I gave you life, I brought you to this world, you can't kill me. Looking at Wen Qingning's unhesitating action, Fairy Xiao was terrified to the extreme. The next moment, the blade in her panicked pupils gradually enlarged. Blood bloomed like petals, and the gentle liquid sprinkled on Wen Qingning's face. This sword is for revenge, Wen Qingning said indifferently. This plain sword has no fancy, just like the sword in front of the small temple, which saved the two from suffering. 3 swords cut off the tribulation. This sword hidden for 13 years finally completed Wen Qingning's redemption for herself. Wen Qingning's aura quickly receded, and the whole person became extremely weak. A sense of death spread on her, and Wen Qingning's heart had long been dead. Died in the Chigu Zan cave 13 years ago, now she has completed her redemption and can go to find her sister with peace of mind. Yu Ning, sister did it, I wonder if you found Mr. Shen over there. Walk slowly on the road, wait for sister. Sister will always protect you. Wen Qingning collapsed to the ground, her lifeless eyes staring at the sky. She wanted to see Zhang Qianqiu for the last time before leaving. The sky was dark, and the sky was dark. Boom! A crack appeared in the dark sky, and a broken body rushed out from it. The face of the old ancestor of Tianji Pavilion was terrified, as if he had experienced something terrible. At this moment, he was like a dog with a broken spine, running madly into the distance, and his entire lower body was cut and bloody. He didn't dare to look back for a moment, and all of them died. 4 of the 5 people died, and the Taoist weapons of various tribes were shattered. The figure of the devil was too terrifying, and the power of crushing withering and rotten was raised. It took less than an incense stick of time from the battle in the mirror world to the end, and the 5 of them were suppressed and beaten throughout the whole process. If he hadn't dodged quickly, it wouldn't just be his lower body that would have disappeared. The confidence that the old ancestor of Tianji Pavilion had before the battle was crushed, and his heart was filled with grey despair. He had never seen such a terrible person, and 5 Mahayana-level people were crushed to death like ants with a single hand. The old ancestor of Tianji Pavilion didn't want to care about so many trivial matters now. With his current vitality, he could still sleep for 1,000 years, and he just wanted to leave this place. Oh, Wasn't the old man quite arrogant then? How come only the upper body is left now? A mocking voice came from above. Then a huge shadow covered the front. Di Jing's brown pupils were full of mockery. Get out. The old ancestor of Tianji Pavilion was so angry that he raised his hand and cast a spell. Boom. In the next second, the broken body of the old ancestor of Tianji Pavilion was slapped into the ground from the air by a giant palm that covered the sky and the sun. Di Jing's huge iron hoof stepped on him, grinning. It's like this, old man, you still dare to be arrogant. The Tianji Pavilion patriarch, who was already seriously injured, was almost killed by Di Jing's palm, and the vitality in his turbid eyes was scattered. At this moment, a strong wave came from the crack in the sky. A figure covered with dark thunder stepped out from it. When Zhang Qianqiu stepped out, the whole world was shaken. The golden and dazzling avenue runes appeared on the dark sky, and a vast sea of thunder spanned the eternal galaxy. Among them, there was a figure surrounded by black thunder, and his true appearance could not be seen clearly. Those surviving cultivators looked up at the sky, and at this moment they had the idea of worshipping. A terrifying thunder power echoed throughout the cultivation world, and then all the cultivators knelt down in one direction uncontrollably. Great Emperor! The Tianji Pavilion patriarch swallowed his saliva and muttered. It has been so many years since this world has reached the great emperor realm, and it took this person so many years. The old man of Tianji Pavilion smiled bitterly in his heart. At this moment, he was more and more convinced that perhaps this person was really the destined demon lord of this world. It was ridiculous that the five of them still wanted to stop it. This kind of demonic power would completely cover the entire world. Everyone looked at Zhang Qianqiu with fear and awe. Zhang Qianqiu ignored the expressions of the others and felt the power in her body that was enough to destroy the world. The excitement in her heart was self-evident. In this way, she could revive her husband. Tell me how I can revive my husband. Zhang Qianqiu asked in his heart. In the past, as long as Zhang Qianqiu spoke, the voice would respond immediately. But this time, the voice in his heart did not respond. Why don't you speak? Didn't you say that as long as I become the great emperor, I can revive my husband? Zhang Qianqiu continued to ask anxiously. But there was still no reply, and Zhang Qianqiu's face suddenly changed. She hurried back to the dark clouds to look for the body, but when she returned here, the familiar Shen Shuqiu was no longer in Zhang Qianqiu's sight. Sir, sir, Zhang Qianqiu panicked, but when she searched the entire dark cloud, she did not find Shen Shuqiu. When she thought about the disappearance of the voice, Zhang Qianqiu knew that she had been deceived. You lied to me. Why did you lie to me? Give the sir back to me. Zhang Qianqiu's voice was like a madman crawling out of the hell, and the flames of anger were burning. Rumble. As if sensing Zhang Qianqiu's anger, thunder rolled in the dark clouds. The terrifying black thunder vented, and the already broken cultivation world was even more earth-shaking. Di Jing's head shrank. He didn't know what disease his master had started to have again. He hurriedly dodged the attack of the black thunder, but other cultivators were not so lucky, and turned into ashes without even a scream. The seriously injured Tianji Pavilion master could only watch helplessly as the mighty thunder submerged. Boo! Ha ha, sir, my sir. After Zhang Qianqiu vented his anger, he cried and laughed like a helpless little girl. Tears flooded that beautiful face, and she kept calling Shen Shuqiu's name. At this moment, it was like going back to 20 years ago again. Zhang Qianqiu was also helpless that day, and her husband left her unknowingly. It's just that she was still very weak at that time, but now she is the ruler of heaven and earth, but she still cannot keep her husband. Shen Shuqiu disappeared in front of her again. Zhang Qianqiu's heart was tightly grasped by a pair of invisible hands, and the feeling of suffocation and despair overwhelmed her. Di Jing wagged his tail and nuzzled Zhang Qianqiu gently, and now he understood. The body of her master, whom she had been intimate with all day long, was gone. Even after such a long time, Di Jing knew how important this was to her. Although Di Jing still didn't know what a corpse meant, he knew that it was very important to his master. I don't know how much time passed before Zhang Qianqiu stepped out of the clouds with red eyes. Looking down at this dilapidated world of immortality, he murmured, I don't care who you are, if you take my husband away, I will definitely find you. Then Zhang Qianqiu saw Wen Qingning and came to her side in an instant. Zhang Qianqiu. Wen Qingning was always holding her breath just to meet Zhang Qianqiu again. Zhang Qianqiu didn't speak. She felt that Wen Qingning in front of her was about to die. When he heard about Wen Yuning's death, Zhang Qianqiu felt no joy at all, and was filled with inexplicable melancholy. But now this only remaining old friend is about to leave. Zhang Qianqiu, I atone for my sins. If it weren't for Mr. Shen, we sisters wouldn't be where we are today. Yu Ning left before me. As a sister, I have to go to accompany my sister. From now on, you have to live well. Let's go find Mr. Shen first. Maybe Wen Yuning is already with Mr. Shen now. Wen Qingning forced a smile. She had always known her sister's passionate love in her heart. If you can't compete with Zhang Qianqiu in this life, won't you be able to compete with him in the next life? She was going to die soon anyway, so she wasn't afraid of Zhang Qianqiu in front of her. Don't worry, you won't die, Zhang Qianqiu said calmly. Wen Qingning's expression was slightly startled. Just listen to Zhang Qianqiu continue. You and Wen Yuning can't die. I won't let you die like this. Sir, I won't let him leave me either. When I find my husband, I will punish him well. He can't beat me anyway. Zhang Qianqiu's eyes looked into the distance, and those black eyes seemed to have traveled through eternity and across the star fields in the sky. Wen Qing stared at the playful Zhang Qianqiu without saying anything for a long time. Well, Shen Shuqiu stared at the ceiling blankly. He really has one head and two heads now. Zhang Qianqiu's appearance on Blue Star is undoubtedly a walking time bomb. It could explode at any time. This is not the first life, and Zhang Qianqiu is no longer the little girl. Shen Shuqiu is not sure that he can restrain Zhang Qianqiu now, but fortunately Langsing still rejects her. Forget it, take it one step at a time. After all, I am also Zhang Qianqiu's husband. Shen Shuqiu felt a little helpless. Ding ding. At this moment, the phone screen next to him lit up in the darkness, and several messages popped up. Who sent me a message so late? Shen Shuqiu picked up his phone and looked at it. Chu Siqi. Shen Shuqiu, are you asleep? Chu Siqi. Shen Shuqiu, why are you ignoring me? Chu Siqi. Shen Shuqiu, are you dead? Chu Siqi. When will you be cremated? Shen Shuqiu. The ones on the left were all messages from Chu Siqi. Looking at the time, it was already early morning. Shen Shuqiu was already troubled by Zhang Qianqiu's appearance, and he almost forgot that there was a little troublemaker here. Shen Shuqiu felt more and more that he shouldn't have taken action that day. Shen Shuqiu. Miss Chu, don't you need to sleep? What time did you cry to this ghost? Shen Shuqiu replied speechlessly with a message. Chu Siqi. Great, you're not dead. Chu Siqi's message on the phone was replied immediately. Shen Shuqiu. What are you going to do? If you don't sleep, don't disturb others' sleep, okay? Besides, I told you that we don't need to have anything to do with each other anymore. Shen Shuqiu was very irritable and felt that women were really troublesome, especially this kind of young lady who had been doted on since childhood. After sending this sentence, Chu Siqi on the opposite side seemed to be silent and did not reply within seconds. But there is a line on it that the other party is typing, it disappears and reappears repeatedly. Chu Siqi, do you hate me so much? Shen Shuqiu seemed to be able to feel the other party's grievances from the screen. Shen Shuqiu sighed secretly and replied, it's not a matter of whether I hate it or not. I think it's best for us not to have anything to do with each other. Chu Siqi. Why, you obviously hate my excuses. Shen Shuqiu didn't want to explain so much to her and casually replied, you will be in danger if you come into contact with me. Shen Shuqiu's words were not a lie to her. Now that Zhang Qianqiu was a variable, something was wrong with Shen Shuqiu. All the time, I felt those cold black eyes staring at me in the dark. With Zhang Qianqiu's crazy character, there is no room for sand in her eyes. If she knew about Chu Siqi's existence, Shen Shuqiu would not dare to think about the consequences. Probably will die. Elsewhere, a room filled with girly fans. Chu Siqi was wearing a pink bear pajamas, with her snow-white feet dangling outside the quilt. With an aggrieved face and pursed lips, she looked at Shen Shuqiu's messages on her phone. What would be dangerous if you come into contact with him? What danger could there be? He obviously just hates himself, so he found such a ridiculous excuse. The more Chu Siqi thought about it, the angrier she became. She puffed up her cheeks and grabbed the bear doll's pink fist from the bedside and beat it continuously. While beating him, he angrily said, "I'll beat you to death. The stinky Shu-Chu told you to ignore me." After the beating, he still held the little bear doll in his arms, picked up the phone and typed, "Miss Shen Shucho has decided not to talk to you again." Shen Shucho. It's settled in one word. Shen Shucho's message came back almost as soon as she sent it. "Ah, I'm so annoyed." Seeing these 4 words again, Chu Siki's 2 long white legs kicked back and forth on the bed to vent her bad emotions. Chu Sichi now wanted to run up to Shen Shucho and bite him to death. She has been a little princess who has been admired by all the stars since she was a child. Which man would not greet her when he sees her? When had she, Chu Sichi, been treated like this? The key was that she took the initiative to chat with the other party. That impatient tone made Chu Sichi deeply suspicious of herself. "I'll be like a puppy if I don't care about you anymore, young lady." Chu Sichi clenched her fists and thought to herself, "If you come to me to apologize tomorrow, then I won't pursue it." A few seconds later, Chu Sichi silently added another message in her heart. "Sichi, why aren't you sleeping yet? Is there something wrong?" Father Chu's voice came from outside the door. When he got up to go to the bathroom, he heard Chu Siki's room. There was movement. "It's okay, I'll go to bed now," Chu Sichi responded. Then he turned off his phone and huddled under the covers. After tossing and turning for a while, Chu Sichi felt like there were ants crawling in her heart. Opening the phone and looking at the conversation box, he hesitated, pursed his lips and said softly, "Good night." After saying this, he immediately turned off his phone, his face tensed and his heart constantly comforting. The last time, really the last time. Little did he know that Shen Shucho on the other end had already thrown his cell phone aside. "Now I am lying in bed but I can't fall asleep. It's an ordinary night for 2 insomniacs. A night of silence. In the morning, the sun rises." Shen Shucho felt as if something was pressing on him. Ghost on the bed. Shen Shucho thought of this immediately, but then he thought it was wrong. "I am now in the nascent soul stage, no ghost dares to suppress me. And there seems to be a moist feeling in the ear, as if something is licking it. It's not a ghost, and I don't have a dog." Shen Shucho suddenly broke into a cold sweat and quickly opened his eyes. The blurred vision became clear, and he looked into a pair of black eyes. "Sir, wake up," Zhang Qianqiu said with a smile. "The eyes are full of peach love. Zhang Qianqiu, is there something wrong with you?" Shen Shucho sat up suddenly and pushed Zhang Qianqiu off him. Zhang Qianqiu smiled like a flower and said, "Why are you so cruel, sir? Weren't you suppressed by heaven? When did you come?" Shen Shucho suddenly felt a little dizzy. Being like this by Zhang Qianqiu so early in the morning, he suddenly lost all sleep. "Why, sir, don't you want Qianqiu to appear here?" Zhang Qianqiu squinted his eyes and smiled. Shen Shucho suddenly sensed a danger surrounding him. His heart skipped a beat and he quickly denied it. "No, I'm just asking when you came." Zhang Qianqiu seemed a little dissatisfied with this answer. Her beautiful face came within 3 inches of Shen Shucho. "Are you afraid, sir? Are you afraid that Qianqiu will eat you?" Warm breath rushed to his face, and a finger restlessly drew circles on Shen Shucho's chest. "Zhang Qianqiu, you still know that I am your husband. There is no student like you." Seeing Zhang Qianqiu's extravagant efforts, Shen Shucho had to put on a serious face. In fact, he was extremely nervous inside. He couldn't defeat Zhang Qianqiu. If this little girl really went crazy and did something to him, he couldn't stop her. Zhang Qianqiu's beautiful eyes looked at each other, and after a while, he got off Shen Shucho with a smile. It seemed that those smiling eyes had already seen through Shen Shucho's heart. Fidgeting with his little hand, he said, "It's right for Heavenly Tao to suppress me here, but I can stay for a long time as long as I temporarily suppress my cultivation." As for when Qianqiu came, of course he came when the husband was asleep. Quote. Hearing this, Shen Shucho was immediately shocked. Zhang Qianqiu had been here since the early morning. I didn't notice it at all, but when I thought about it, the gap between their realms was too big. "What state are you being suppressed in?" Shen Shucho couldn't help but ask curiously. "Although Qianqiu's cultivation has been suppressed, sir, he can't beat me, so sir, it's best not to have any weird ideas." Zhang Qianzhou looked at him with a smile. Shen Shuqiu smiled and said nothing. He complained in his heart. I should be afraid that you might have some strange ideas. Sir, are you really unwilling to go home with Qianzhou? Zhang Qianzhou said seriously with a small face. Shen Shuqiu knew where the home she was talking about was, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Qianzhou, this is your true home. What about Qianzhou? My husband once promised to give Qianzhou a home, so that doesn't count. Zhang Qianzhou's eyes were filled with memories. Shen Shuqiu suddenly fell silent. The first home was in Blackstone Town. Zhang Qianzhou was only 4 or 5 years old. The second home was in Kyoto, when Zhang Qianzhou was 8 years old. Shen Shuqiu still remembered that when Zhang Qianzhou knew that he could have a family with him, his joy almost overflowed from the bottom of his heart. But it's a pity that both families were shattered in Zhang Qianzhou's heart. Even Shen Shuqiu just thought that it was all a big dream, and everything he had experienced from the moment he returned would turn into nothing and disappear. Unexpectedly, Zhang Qianzhou found him across the star field in the sky. When this question was asked, Shen Shuqiu fell into silence. Although Shen Shuqiu didn't want Zhang Qianzhou to appear here, Shen Shuqiu couldn't say anything cruel at this time. This will be your home from now on. On the other hand, Zhang Qianzhou just longs for a warm and stable home. After saying this, Zhang Qianzhou buried his head in Shen Shuqiu's arms. With a hint of sobs in her tone, she said, Sir, please stop lying to Qianzhou. It doesn't matter where Qianzhou is, nor does it matter where your home is. What's important is that Qianzhou hopes to have your husband by your side. Only a home with a husband is a home. Sir, I won't lie to you again this time. Shen Shuqiu's voice softened and he spoke softly. Of course, if Mr. deceives Qianzhou again, Qianzhou will have no choice but to kill everyone and bring Mr. to a planet where there are only 2 of us and imprison him for the rest of his life. Zhang Qianzhou became cold in the next second. A chill suddenly rose behind Shen Shuqiu's back, and he almost forgot that she was no longer the ignorant little girl. Shen Shuqiu quickly and seriously promised, Mr. No, I won't lie to you again. Zhang Qianzhou suddenly broke through his sorrow and smiled, holding out his little finger and saying, that gentleman and Qianzhou hang themselves on hooks and they will not change for 100 years. Shen Shuqiu was stunned. Where did you learn this? Zhang Qianzhou immediately raised his proud little head and said, Qianzhou has learned all about the culture of your world. But sir, this world is quite interesting. It's much more fun than Qianzhou's planet. Qianzhou also knows that this is a mobile phone. Zhang Qianzhou picked up Shen Shuqiu's cell phone, shook it and smiled. Shen Shuqiu's astonished expression reflected that it was easy to learn a culture based on Zhang Qianzhou's level. So sir, hurry up and hook up with Qianzhou. Zhang Qianzhou urged. Shen Shuqiu had no choice but to hook his little fingers together and hang himself on the hook. It will not change for 100 years. These are children's toys and are purely used to deceive children. Mr. Zhang Qianzhou has no objection to your coming here, but he has to make an agreement with you. Shen Shuqiu looked at the happy Zhang Qianzhou and hesitated for a moment. If you don't restrain her, who knows what this little girl can do if she goes crazy. Shen Shuqiu just wants to be a good citizen who obeys the law. If you don't agree, don't come looking for me, sir, in the future. As if he was afraid that Zhang Qianzhou would not agree, Shen Shuqiu bit the bullet and added. But Zhang Qianzhou agreed without even thinking. As long as Mr. can stay with Qianzhou, Qianzhou will agree to it, let alone 3 chapters or even 10 chapters of the agreement. And Qianzhou will agree to whatever you want to do to Qianzhou, so what do you want to do to me, sir? Zhang Qianzhou put his face close to hers again with a smirk on his face. Shen Shuqiu's face darkened, and he pushed her away ruthlessly. Zhang Qianzhou, I will tell you the key points again. Aha! Asterisk caret caret asterisk. Zhang Qianzhou immediately sat on the bed like a good baby. Shen Shuqiu sighed helplessly. The first point is not to kill people indiscriminately, the second point is that you need to ask my opinion on anything you want to do, and the third point is not to expose your own strength. Hearing these words, Zhang Qianzhou's little face suddenly frowned. Shen Shuqiu said calmly, is there something wrong? If Qianzhou meets someone he hates, can't he kill him? Zhang Qianzhou frowned. As expected, this little girl was very murderous, and Shen Shuqiu felt a little helpless. But after all, Zhang Qianzhou is the strongest villain in the first life. Murder is a common occurrence for Zhang Qianzhou, and no one can stop her. Then you need my permission before killing someone. I said you can kill this person before you do it. Quote. Shen Shuqiu changed his method. The gentleman said so, and Zhang Qianzhou had no choice but to nod in agreement. Shen Shuqiu breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Zhang Qianzhou would kill him indiscriminately. As long as it doesn't disrupt the rhythm of his life, it's fine, and Shen Shuqiu doesn't want to attract too much attention. Jingle bell. At this moment, the screen of the mobile phone in Zhang Qianzhou's hand lit up. A message popped up, and Zhang Qianzhou clicked it out of curiosity. Chu Siqi. Good morning. Big idiot Shen Shuqiu. Zhang Qianzhou looked at this line of text, and an evil spirit suddenly appeared in his eyes. Then I clicked on Chu Siqi's avatar and saw the photo on the homepage. The girl in the photo is young and beautiful, wearing a gorgeous dress, and her smiling face seems to outshine the scenery behind her. Shen Shuqiu suddenly felt the temperature in the room drop suddenly, and an extreme chill enveloped her. The source of this coldness was Zhang Qianzhou in front of him. Shen Shuqiu looked at Zhang Qianzhou looking at the screen with murderous intent. I was suddenly shocked. There was no screen password set on his phone, and a bad premonition suddenly emerged in his heart. Shen Shuqiu quickly grabbed the phone and took a look. Sure enough, Chu Siqi's message was sent at 8:06 in the morning, which was just now. It was over. He forgot to block her. Shen Shuqiu stiffly stretched out his hand to block Chu Siqi. Ahem, Qianzhou, you probably haven't eaten the food here yet. I'll make it for you. Shen Shuqiu coughed and wanted to change the subject. But the next second, Zhang Qianzhou's cold and emotionless voice came. Sir, who is she, and what is her relationship with him? Zhang Qianzhou's sharp eyes stared at the restless Shen Shuqiu. She is Sir's classmate, it doesn't matter. Seeing that he couldn't escape, Shen Shuqiu had no choice but to tell the truth. Zhang Qianzhou didn't see any lies in Shen Shuqiu's eyes, so he immediately relaxed his tone and said, since it doesn't matter, how about Qianzhou go kill her? Upon hearing this, Shen Shuqiu jumped up from the bed. No, you can't kill people indiscriminately. Zhang Qianzhou remained indifferent, the murderous intent in his black eyes not diminishing at all. Seeing this, Shen Shuqiu could only console him with sincere words. She is not a bad person, she is just a classmate and has nothing to do with anything else. I just want to live a stable life here. You will cause trouble to me. After all, this is ours. Isn't it home? It seemed that Shen Shuqiu's last words moved Zhang Qianzhou, and the killing intent in his eyes slowly faded away. After comforting Zhang Qianzhou, who was about to go berserk at any time, Shen Shuqiu breathed a sigh of relief and said, Sir, go make breakfast for you. After saying that, he left the bedroom, not forgetting to take his phone with him before leaving. Zhang Qianzhou looked at Shen Shuqiu's back, the image of that girl was still in his mind. What is your relationship with Sir? Zhang Qianzhou said calmly. A feeling made Zhang Qianzhou want to meet this girl named Chu Siqi. The city of Su. The Mingyu Bureau has the highest level. Su Man wore a special tight combat uniform, showing her exquisite and tall figure to the fullest. She walked like a water snake. Good morning, Captain Su. Captain Su, your coffee. Many colleagues greeted respectfully along the way. Some male colleagues stared at Su Man's exposed beautiful curves from behind. Yeah, Su Man looked cold and arrogant and hummed lightly, took the coffee from the side and pushed open an office. Hey, I wonder who can marry a woman like Captain Su. If I marry Captain Su, I will be willing to live in a mansion and drive a luxury car. You are so heartless if you drink some horse urine. I have uremia and I will sober you up. After Su Man left, a group of male colleagues whispered to each other. Walking into the office, a woman wearing glasses with thick frames came into view. Oh, Captain Su came so early. Yuan Shui greeted with a lollipop in her mouth. What do you look like this? Su Man stared at the zipper on Yuan Shui's chest and frowned. Captain Su, this is not my fault. I don't want it either. Yuan Shui stuck out her tongue and cried out an injustice. Then she began to pull the zipper up in front of Su Man, but a proud mountain appeared in front of the zipper, blocking the way. Yuan Shui's childish face was full of strength and took great efforts to pull it up. As a result, the zipper slipped down again within 2 seconds. Yuan Shui spread her hands and said helplessly, Captain, you can't blame me for this. Su Man's forehead was covered with black lines, and she quietly lowered her head to look at herself. It would have been better if she hadn't looked at it. This time, it was simply a comparison that made people angry. One was not competitive, and the other was too competitive. Okay, let's go pick a larger size after get off work. Su Man said with a dark face. Okay, Yuan Shui responded. Did you copy the surveillance that night? Su Man took a sip of coffee and asked. The corpse of the spirit quiet period monster that she saw that night, Su Man immediately ordered the team members to copy the surveillance there. She wanted to know who did it, and what kind of person could dismember a spirit quiet period monster. I copied it, but the camera there was too old, and it was night and raining, so the picture was a little blurry. Yuan Shui replied. Yuan Shui took out a USB drive and inserted it into the USB port, and then a video appeared in front of the two. In the dark rainy night, the lights on the roadside were dim, and a dark figure was shuttling back and forth. The rushing rainwater avoided the black shadow from both sides, and even the puddles under the feet were still smart and avoided to both sides. Seeing this scene, Su Man frowned. Captain, can you tell what realm this person is in? Yuan Shui asked curiously by pressing the pause button. Su Man frowned and said nothing to indicate that she should watch the whole process first. The picture continued to flow, and the monster scene that day appeared in front of the black shadow. There was also an odd corpse lying on the ground and a female high school student. The black shadow in the video seemed to be saying something, but the sound of the rain was too loud to interfere with the sound recording of the camera. Then the black shadow man stretched out his finger and hooked the dog-headed monster. He is so arrogant, Yuan Shui said while biting a lollipop. The next moment, the dog-headed monster rushed towards the black shadow angrily. Yuan Shui could feel the terrifying murderous aura through the screen. But when the dog-headed monster was 3 steps away from the black shadow, a scene that made Yuan Shui's eyes widen appeared. The dog-headed monster was in a pounce posture, but at this moment it rose up for no reason, and finally smashed down fiercely. He does have the capital to be arrogant. Yuan Shui pushed her glasses and changed her words. In the last scene, the dog-headed monster exploded into a blood mist without a sound. Later, the black shadow rushed in one direction, and the video disappeared here. Captain, did you see it? Yuan Shui asked again. Su Man's eyes were filled with shock, and after a while he said, it's not 100% certain at the moment, but the only thing that is certain is that this person is at least in the late Jaden stage, and is very likely to be a Jinden stage expert. Really, could it be that the Jinden stage experts are those on the list? Yuan Shui was also surprised by Su Man's words. Not those experts. Most of the Jinden experts on the list are in other places. Su City only has. There was one person, but with that person's flamboyant personality, if he had killed him, he would wish that everyone in the world would know about it tomorrow. Quote. When he mentioned that Suman, he sneered. Then it might be a wild golden elixir. Yuan Shui replied. I'm not sure this person is 100% golden elixir, but it's at least possible. Suman shook his head and then watched the video again. Finally, at 1 minute and 59 seconds, the camera captured the profile of the black figure. Hey, Captain, don't say anything. This man's profile is quite handsome, but I don't know if he has a partner. Yuan Shui stared at Shen Shucho's profile and licked her lips slightly. Su Man was speechless. He put his hand on his chin and said, judging from his face, this person is very young, at least in his early 20s. Suman, who seemed to be in his early 20s, was immediately frightened by his words. The youngest known Jinden Chi is currently ranked second in strength in Sioux City, but even so, he is already 30 years old. Such a young man who appeared out of nowhere is terrifyingly powerful. I don't know if it's good or bad to be hidden in Sioux City. Suman has some bad guesses in his mind. Captain, how did you learn to guess your age by looking at your face? Why can't I do it? Yuan Shui scratched his head in distress. Suman rolled his eyes at her and said, don't worry, my trick will be completely ineffective on you. Why? Yuan Shui was stunned. Guess for yourself. When Suman saw Yuan Shui for the first time, she thought she was from a high school student. She has the baby face of a high school girl, but she is actually a 28-year-old leftover girl who no one wants, a full 5 years older than her. Moreover, Yuan Shui speaks in a baby-like voice. What Sumin couldn't accept the most was how Yuan Shui looked. Sumin secretly decided to go back tonight to investigate the information carefully. Ah, Captain, you keep calling me old. Yuan Shui seemed to have reacted and said angrily. Sumin's face turned dark and she held her forehead. I thought in my heart that I couldn't save her. Cut this picture into a photo and send it to me, and try to restore the face in high definition. Sumin was too lazy to chat with Yuan Hanhan and sat back at his desk with coffee in hand. Before my butt was even hot from sitting, I heard a commotion outside the door. Boom. At this moment, the office door was pushed open from the outside. A middle-aged man panted and said, "The captain is in trouble, we found traces of the monster." Sumin looked shocked when he heard this. Hurry up and deploy your personnel to prepare to go. Yes. The middle-aged man said something and hurriedly went out. Yuan Shui, come too, Sumin said to Yuan Shui behind him. Ah, I'll go too. Yuan Shui pointed at her open mouth and said in disbelief. Stop dawdling. As an analyst, of course you have to go. After Sumin finished speaking, he started walking outside. Oh, Yuan Shui yelled, and immediately followed with 2 heavy jade rabbits on her head. After a while, a team of 10 people was assembled. Very good, the 2 cars will set off directly. I won't go into details about the importance of the mission. The most important thing is to get rid of the monsters. Sumin said seriously. Clear. Everyone also knew the importance of the task and responded with determination. Set off. Sumin waved his hand, and 10 people got on the chariot and moved quickly towards the place where the monster appeared. Sir, Qianzhou really likes this world more and more. Zhang Qianzhou's mouth was full, and her eyes narrowed into crescent shapes. There was also a half-bitten piece of cream cake on the table in front of him. Nowhere in her world had she eaten such sweet food. The rich milky aroma and the softness made her unable to stop mouthing. Although Zhang Qianzhou has long been in need of whole grains, he still can't resist the desire of his taste buds when faced with this kind of food. As long as Qianzhou likes it. Shen Shuchou smiled when he heard this. The way Zhang Qianzhou ate looked harmless, as cute as when he was a child. As long as she doesn't kill people randomly, everything will be fine. At this moment, Shen Shuchou's cell phone was vibrating crazily, and the screen lit up and messages popped up one after another. Shen Shuchou just glanced at it and did not choose to open it, while Zhang Qianzhou, who was eating, looked up. Zhang Qianzhou said calmly, "Sir, don't you take a look." Shen Shuchou seemed to feel guilty about being a thief, so he sneered and clicked on the message immediately. At this moment, the class group of Grade 3 and Grade 5 has already gone crazy. Xu Yang, at Sheyan Nan help. Fang Yu, Zhang Mingbin. Chen Nan, what's wrong with you so early in the morning? Xu Yang, I was blocked by a monster. Chen Nan, you are crazy. Are you kidding me? Lao Wang, classmate Xu Yang, you can't make this joke. Wu Quan, you don't want to fool everyone, do you? Seeing that no one believed in him, Xu Yang suddenly became anxious. The next moment, a video appeared in the group. Shen Shuchou frowned and opened the video, only to see Xu Yang's dark face appearing in the video. He looked horrified and kept saying, "Did I really lie to you? I was really trapped by a monster." In addition, there are other people's noises in the video, all gathered together. It seems that Xu Yang is not the only one who is trapped. Then he switched to the rear camera, and saw the lens shaking towards the window. A huge creature covered in scales appeared in the video. You can feel the powerful aura from the video, and the streets are in chaos. Roar! A shocking beast roar came from the video, and the whole camera suddenly shook, and then the screen went black, and the video ended here. Xu Yang, what I said is true. Chen Nan, please ask your cousin to save me. Xu Yang, and Xiao Miao is here too, she can testify for me. Xiao Miao, I'm here too. As soon as the video came out, the class was in chaos. Lao Wang, where are you now? Xu Yang, Ningfang Tower. Ningfang Building is a relatively prosperous shopping mall building in Suzhou City. Fang Yu, didn't you say the market is closed? Why are you there? Xu Yang, I saw everyone had gone out. I thought it was okay, but I didn't expect it. Xiao Miao, I went out to buy medicine, and then I ran into a monster and was driven here. After the video, Chen Nan seemed to have actually made a phone call and remained silent. After a while, Chen Nan appeared in the class group and said, "You guys hide first, my cousin and I talked on the phone, and they are heading to your place now." After watching the whole process, Shen Shucho frowned. At this time, a monster appears. From the video, it can be seen that the monster with scales all over its body is not very weak. I just don't know if Mingyu Bureau can withstand it, and Shen Shucho doesn't know this organization very well. "What's wrong, sir?" Zhang Qianqiu could tell something was wrong from Shen Shucho's expression. "My classmate is trapped by a monster. You stay at home while I wait and see." Shen Shucho put down his phone and decided to go take a look. If it didn't work, he would take action secretly. "Qianqiu will go too. The monsters here are too weak. Why don't you let me take action?" Zhang Qianqiu's face was suddenly filled with excitement. "You are not allowed to go, wait for me at home." Shen Shucho refused in a stern tone. If she really made a move, it would be more of a monster than a monster. Zhang Qianqiu's little mouth suddenly muttered, with a look of reluctance. "Okay, then sir, be careful." Zhang Qianqiu had no choice but to agree. Shen Shucho nodded, then changed his clothes and ran towards Ningfang Tower. After Shen Shucho left, Zhang Qianqiu quietly followed behind him with cunning eyes. Sumin said with a serious expression, "What's going on over there?" According to reports from personnel at the scene, at least 300 citizens are trapped in Ningfang building. Quote, "And the monster doesn't seem to have any intention of harming the citizens, it just trapped them in it." The team member in the car replied. When he heard about the 300 citizens, Su Man's face turned ugly instantly. He was furious. The city had been closed, but there were still so many people who didn't know how to live or die. The Mingyu Bureau has been detecting monsters throughout the city. This group of people is nothing more than making trouble for them now. After a while, the armored vehicle of the Mingyu Bureau arrived at the destination and stopped near Ningfang building. As soon as they got off the car, everyone was shocked by the huge body not far away. The terrifying momentum was like a towering mountain pressing on the heart of the Mingyu Bureau. Su Man's face was extremely ugly and said, "Can you detect what stage this monster is in?" According to the detection, the level of this monster is the middle level of Jaden, and the rating is extremely dangerous. Quote, a team member came over with a detection instrument. Hearing this, Su Man's face became even darker. Gnashing his teeth, he said, "What on earth does the cancer of the Tianluo organization want to do?" "Captain, this monster is not something we can deal with. It is too far beyond our reach. Let's ask Lord Su for help." Quote, one team member said with a stern face. The strongest person in their team is Su Man, who is in the initial stage of spiritual silence. The rest are only in the foundation building stage, and there is one innate Yuan Shui. The monsters in the Jaden realm greatly exceed the overall strength of their team. Su Man had a gloomy face. She also knew that this was not something they could deal with. Most of the monsters they usually deal with are in the foundation building stage, and even the monsters in the spiritual silence are rare. But the Jaden realm they faced this time was an unreachable mountain for several people. It was difficult to break the armor of the monsters with the weapons in their hands, and going up like this would only be sending them to death for no reason. Although he didn't want to see that person in his heart, it seemed that only he could deal with it now. After hesitating for a moment, Su Man walked aside, took out her mobile phone, looked at a number and dialed it. After a moment, the call was connected, and a lazy male voice came from the other end. "What's wrong, my dear sister? I remembered to call your brother." Quote, Su Man listened to the annoying voice and black lines appeared on his forehead. "Stop talking nonsense, there are monsters waiting for you to deal with them, come here quickly." Tisk tisk tisk. Su Man would never ask for help like you, not to mention that I am your boss. The careless voice came from the phone. Su Man gritted his teeth and said viciously, "What do you want? How about this? You call me brother, and I will go immediately without saying anything." The owner on the other end of the phone didn't care about Su Man's tone. "Su Chengkong, do you want to die?" Su Man couldn't control herself anymore and growled at Su Chengkong on the other end. "Oh, if you don't want to call me, then don't call me. Why are you angry? It's really your brother. Come here soon." Quote, Su Chengkong put away his lazy tone. Su Man's chest was beating with anger, and she hung up the phone directly. Su Man couldn't accept the thought of seeing Su Chengkong's arrogant face later. However, the monster they faced this time was beyond their expectations, so they had to ask for the person Su Man hated the most. In a busy room, Su Chengkong put on his clothes. Let's go. It's time to work, old friend. Su Chengkong picked up the white spear beside him and said calmly. Shen Shuchou's figure landed silently on the top of Ningfang Tower like a ghost. The view below fell clearly into Shen Shuchou Gujing Wubo's eyes. I saw the huge monster body below quietly blocking the entrance of Ningfang Tower. A terrifying aura filled the entire street, and the cold beast's eyes were filled with violent killing intent, making people shudder. The surrounding air was frozen by this cold light. Not far from the huge demon body, 10 people in white uniforms watched nervously, holding special firearms in their hands. Shen Shuchou guessed in his mind that these were the people from the Mingyu Bureau, and he noticed that the fluctuations in their cultivation were too weak. Shen Shuchou didn't plan to take action now, besides, the monster had been stuck here and didn't take action. The cultivation level of this beast is only at the level of Tribulation Pill. Although Shen Shuchou has the ability to kill it instantly, he has no intention of doing so. This would only make the noise louder, not to mention that Shen Shuchou wanted to know where the members of the Tianluo organization behind the monster were hiding. Shen Shuchou suddenly thought that he still had a trace of spiritual thoughts left in the old man from the Tianluo organization last time. When he checked, his brows furrowed, and the spiritual thoughts he had left disappeared. There are only two endings to this situation. One is that someone takes action to cancel his spiritual consciousness, and the other is that the old man dies. Judging from the current world, it is almost impossible for someone to break his spiritual thoughts, which means that the old man is dead. It seems that the Tianluo organization is not stupid either. At this moment, Zhang Qianchou's figure fell among the clouds above the sky. Zhang Qianchou's gaze has been falling on Shen Shuchou. As for the monster in her eyes, it is nothing more than an ant and can be destroyed with one look. Zhang Qianchou listened to Shen Shuchou's words and did not intend to take action. At this moment, she suddenly felt that secretly spying on her husband's every move made her feel inexplicably excited. There was a strange stalemate in the street below. The huge monster did not choose to attack them but quietly waited for something. The people in Mingyu Bureau were deeply shocked by the terrifying aura of the monster. Captain, how long will it take for Mr. Su to arrive? Some team members were almost unable to withstand the huge pressure. Su Min remained calm and silent. The thing that worried her most did not happen. The monster did not choose to attack those citizens. But this made Su Min even more worried. The Tianluo organization was more like waiting for a certain person. At present, the only person in Su City who can deal with them is Su Chengkong. Could this be a riot specifically targeting Su Chengkong? Su Min made a bold guess in his mind. Tian Luo, what are you going to do? Su Min said coldly towards the front. In this weird atmosphere, Su Min spoke first. She knew that members of the Tianluo organization must be watching nearby. Sure enough, a man hiding under a black robe walked out from the other side of the street. A gloomy voice came. You are not worthy of talking to me, call Su Chengkong. Su Min was shocked. As expected, the group of people from the Tianluo organization were specifically waiting for Su Chengkong. Su Chengkong was in the golden elixir stage, and people from the Tianluo organization were clearly looking for him. Su Min felt a strong sense of uneasiness in his heart. What on earth do you want to do? Su City won't tolerate your arrogance here. Su Min continued. But this time, the old man in black robe did not choose to reply to her, and stood beside the monster with a cold aura all over his body. But at this moment, a loud shout came from the horizon. I said who was acting wild here, it turned out to be you Tianluo fools. The old man in black robe perked up and said coldly, Su Chengkong, you are finally here. Next moment, the old man in black robes had a dangerous warning in his heart, and a flash of silver light came like a shooting star. Before the people arrived, the gun arrived first. The old man in black robe stretched out his skinny hands from the loose black robe, but they were a pair of sharp claws with spikes. The sharp claw tips firmly grasped the silver spear that shone with cold light. The terrifying force caused the old man in black robe to retreat violently backwards. The ground beneath his feet was torn apart and cracks spread layer by layer. The flaming stars bloomed among the silver spears, striking with thunderous force. At this moment, a black shadow fell from the sky and stepped on the silver spear. Huge power instantly burst out from the gun body, throwing the black-robed old man straight up and facing Su Chengkong's unruly face. Su Chengkong concentrated his power on the silver spear in his hand, and then thrust it out suddenly. The spear glowed like a dragon's roar, and he opened his fangs and mouth, trying to devour the mountains and rivers. This shot, the dragon was shocked and suppressed the mountains and rivers. For a moment, the wind rolled up and the dragon roared. Boom! The black-robed old man's face changed drastically, and the breath of death instantly enveloped him. Roar! At this critical moment, the monster body standing still roared, and a powerful aftermath shook. For a moment, the street was gusting with strong winds, and the gravel was like a tornado. Su Chengkong's eyes turned cold, and he turned the tip of the gun and swept across. The black-robed old man also took the opportunity to escape the shot and flashed to the side of the monster. Su Chengkong, who is worthy of being called the gun saint, is really as terrifying as the rumors. The black-robed old man said with lingering fear. Su Chengkong looked at the man and the beast and smiled coldly, 2 against 1. Facing 2 people in the Jaden realm, Su Chengkong's face did not change, and the silver gun flashed with a cold light and was ready to attack at any time. Lord Su is so handsome. Yuan Shui was infatuated with Su Chengkong, who was cold and handsome. Su Man was speechless. When did Yuan Hanhan become infatuated with him? Hee, I just don't know what choice you will make next, Su Chengkong. The old man in black robe joked. What do you mean? Su Chengkong said coldly. There are still 300 citizens in the Ningfang building, Su Chengkong. Su Man shouted at Su Chengkong at this moment. Hearing this, Su Chengkong's face suddenly changed, and he said to the old man in black robe, What do you want? Lord Su is really a smart man. As long as you hand over the Taowu Xuanju, we will leave immediately, and the 300 people here don't have to die. The old man in black robe said. Impossible, you want to get the power of Taowu, this is simply a dream. Su Chengkong refused without thinking. The Taowu mysterious pearl was something that the Mingyu Bureau got by chance. It contained a trace of the true blood of the ancient beast Taowu. Because the power contained in it was too evil and overbearing, the Mingyu Bureau had never used it. The secret method of the Tianluo organization was related to the monster. Once it got the power of Taowu, it would be a disaster. It seems that Lord Su's choice was wrong. In that case, witness the death of 300 people with your own eyes. The old man in black robe looked crazy. Then he said with murderous intent, Do it. The next moment, a scream came from Ningfang building. You are looking for death. Su Chengkong's face was furious. If there was a large-scale death in Su City, which he managed, he would definitely be punished by the upper level, which Su Chengkong would never allow. Then he was about to go to Ningfang building, but as soon as he moved, the huge monster body blocked him. The violent aura came over him, and the old man in black robe took off the black robe that covered his body. What was revealed was a dark crow face, and the murderous intent in the scarlet eyes was rising. A pair of huge black wings spread out, and a cold human voice came out, Lord Su, let's continue. Su Chengkong's face was ugly, and he held the silver spear tightly in his hand. Shen Shuqiu on the roof of Ningfang building heard their conversation clearly. When he heard about Taowu, Shen Shuqiu was still slightly stunned. Isn't this a fierce beast that exists in mythology? Shen Shuqiu suddenly felt that he didn't know much about everything that revived on Blue Star. But now he couldn't think so much, because it was time for him to take action. Shen Shuqiu's figure quietly retreated from the roof. The crowd was already crowded, and the crowd was already very angry. At this moment, the Ningfang building was in chaos. In the already crowded crowd, several black-robed men appeared from nowhere and killed anyone they saw with extremely cruel means. In just a moment, several citizens were covered in bright blood. The scarlet blood mixed with the corpses, and the air was filled with a disgusting smell of blood. The already crowded corridor was even more panicked because of the sudden riot. In the process of escaping, some people fell down due to great fear and were trampled to death by pairs of big feet. Some people also witnessed their relatives die in the hands of the black-robed men, and they were grief-stricken and fearful. For a moment, shrill screams echoed in Ningfang building. Xu Yong's mind was blank at this moment. He had just seen with his own eyes that a middle-aged woman's body was torn apart and died tragically in front of him. There was warm blood on her body, and this scene stimulated his mind crazily. Extreme fear occupied his heart, and the strong desire to survive made him flee far away. During the escape, Xu Yong found that he and Xiao Miao seemed to have run away. But now Xu Yong couldn't care so much, and he didn't have the courage to look for her. When death came, they fled separately. In his heart, he could only pray that the other party would not get into trouble, and there was no other way. When the black-robed man was slaughtering, Shen Shuchu's figure came quietly. Looking at the blood and corpses on the ground, Shen Shuchu's face sank, and his eyes burst into cold murderous intent. At this moment, a black-robed man just noticed him. He understood the young man in his hand with a knife and walked towards Shen Shucho with a grim smile. Just as the black-robed man was about to take action, he met a pair of cold eyes. In an instant, the black-robed man felt a warning of danger in his heart, and the fear of death enveloped him. "You really make me angry." Shen Shuchu's grim tone was like a demon crawling out of hell with a murderous aura. The terrifying murderous intent made the black-robed man shudder, and the next moment Shen Shucho disappeared from his sight. Suddenly, a pair of big hands tightly grasped his throat and lifted him up. It became difficult to breathe, and the strength of his whole body was suppressed at this moment. "Since you like to make trouble so much, I will make sure that none of you fools will leave Sioux City alive." Shen Shuchu's gloomy eyes were filled with coldness. With a click, Shen Shucho broke his neck neatly, and the black-robed man fell down limply. This sudden scene was seen by the fleeing crowd. Suddenly, several other black-robed men surrounded Shen Shucho. "Kill him," someone shouted, and several people came towards Shen Shucho with blades raised. Facing this group of black-robed men who were only in the Shantian realm, Shen Shucho showed no mercy. A cold and fierce murderous aura burst out from his body and spread to several people. Bang, bang, bang. The next moment, the black-robed man's body exploded without any warning. Blood mist fell in the air, and bright red minced meat was thrown. In an instant, the black-robed men who surrounded him disappeared in an instant, and their bodies exploded like watermelons. Shen Shucho calmly passed through the blood mist without a drop of blood on his body. This strange method scared the citizens who were fleeing not far away, and they stayed away from Shen Shucho as if they were seeing a ghost. Shen Shucho didn't care about them. After making sure that there were no other black-clothed men on the third floor, he gradually went to the second floor. Shen Shucho showed his face, and he was not worried about being exposed. These people were invisibly cast into an illusion by Shen Shucho, because these people could not remember what Shen Shucho looked like at all. When he came to the second floor, Shen Shucho just ran into Xu Yang who was fleeing. "Shen Shucho, why are you here? Come with me." Xu Yang was shocked. Although he didn't know why Shen Shucho appeared here, he quickly grabbed Shen Shucho and was about to leave. "Where is Xiao Miao?" Shen Shucho asked with a frown. "Aren't they together?" "I don't know, I got separated from her. Come with me first, there are black-clothed men chasing me behind." Xu Yang said hurriedly, and with a panicked look on his face, he pulled Shen Shucho but found that he couldn't pull him. At this moment, two black-clothed men appeared at the corner, and saw the two of them walking towards him with a cruel smile. "Finished," Xu Yang said in fear. "Go up the stairs to the third floor, it's safe there." Shen Shucho said calmly, and then walked towards the two men in black robes in Xu Yang's shocked eyes. "If you don't leave, you will die. You can earn another blood." Quote. When Xu Yang saw Shen Shucho coming forward, he gritted his teeth and tried to rush forward with an angry look on his face. But what happened next moment almost shook his jaw off. When they were originally facing each other, Shen Shuchu's figure passed through the two of them and disappeared at the corner. But the two men in black fell to the ground silently, as if they could see incredible fear on their faces. Xu Yang was covered in cold sweat. He didn't see clearly what happened just now. He didn't know how the two people died, but he clearly didn't blink. He hesitated for a moment while standing there, but still chose to follow Shen Shucho's words and run towards the third floor. The moment he turned around, an idea suddenly came to his mind. "I can't seem to remember who saved me just now. The blurry figure gradually faded in my mind and I couldn't remember it." Xu Yang didn't think much about it afterwards. It was more important to save his life first. Every move Shen Shucho made fell into Zhang Qianzhou's eyes. He muttered dissatisfiedly, "Sir, you don't take care of me when it comes to killing people. Qianzhou is the best at killing people. But this is the first time Qianzhou has seen my husband so angry. Whoever makes my husband angry, Qianzhou will let him die." Zhang Qianzhou's black eyes flashed with thunder. In an instant, spiritual thoughts covered the entire Su city, and the traces of some people were immediately exposed in Zhang Qianzhou's field of vision. At this moment, a young man at the door of Mingyu Bureau suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart. A pair of eyes seemed to appear behind him, like a vicious beast locking him tightly. "Do it directly, quickly get the Taoju Xuanju and leave. Notify the Dark Crows to be ready to evacuate at any time." As soon as the young man finished speaking, the men in black robes gathered around him, making strange gestures with their hands, and murmuring in their mouths. Suddenly, a dark red magic circle appeared at his feet, and in an instant, a ferocious monster emerged from it. The Tianluo organization used this method to transport several demonic beasts to Su City silently, which is why the Mingyu Bureau could not detect them. Their purpose was to first send out 2 tribulation pill-level monsters to hold back Su Chengkong in the simplest way, and the remaining 1 tribulation pill-level demon beast would come to Mingyu Bureau. Even if Su Chengkong reacted, it was too late. There was only 1 Jindan-Chi in the entire Su city. It is impossible for the Golden Elixir stage from other cities to come to support them. Nowadays, the revival of Blue Star's spiritual energy is becoming more and more intense, and there is an undercurrent of forces from all sides. As long as they can get the Xuanju, their Tianluo organization can recreate an ancient ferocious beast. In this way, Tianluo can occupy a place ahead of other forces in the future. For this operation, Tianluo is bound to win. In an instant, the Calamity Pill Realm monster like an iron tower burst out with terrifying energy. The Mingyu Bureau's defense collapsed in an instant. Seeing this, the remaining team members quickly activated their spirit guns to attack, but the impact of these attacks on the body was minimal. A large number of Mingyu defenders were killed, injured, and almost destroyed. After a moment, a green bead appeared in the young man's hand, with a strong sense of excitement on his face. "Inform the Dark Crows that they can evacuate. The future Tianluo will thank the Mingyu Bureau for its selfless dedication." The young man laughed. The 2 of them were hiding in a corner. Xiaomiao was hiding in a corner with a pale face, and there was a middle-aged couple beside her. She just came out to buy medicine for her mother, but she ran into a monster. Finally, she was driven into Ningfang building with everyone. This was the second time she encountered such a situation in a short period of time. Xiaomiao's mood slowly fell to the bottom at this moment. She and the couple hid in the back kitchen of a milk tea shop on the 2nd floor. At this time, there were bursts of footsteps coming from outside, and then suddenly stopped. In this tense atmosphere, the 3 of them dared not make any noise, and their hearts were beating violently. Invisible suffocation and despair filled the small back kitchen. At this moment, the footsteps outside gradually moved, heading towards the 3 people. Xiaomiao and the couple covered their mouths tightly, hoping that the footsteps outside would leave quickly. "I know you have someone hiding here. It's easier to die if you come out now. If I catch you, you will die miserably." A teasing voice came from outside. Like the death god demanding life, the cold sickle blade ruthlessly harvested fresh lives. The tight strings of the 3 people seemed to be broken suddenly, and fear surged in their hearts. I only heard the footsteps outside getting closer and closer to the kitchen, and the middle-aged woman seemed to be unable to bear this torture. Suddenly said to Xiaomiao, "Little girl, let's block the door together." Xiaomiao's pale face nodded quickly after hearing this. At the moment, it seems that this is the only way to fight for a glimmer of life. Just as Xiaomiao's weak body walked to the door, a pair of hands stretched out from behind and pushed her out forcefully. The door suddenly closed at this moment, and Xiaomiao was stunned for a moment. She looked back in disbelief, but could only see the closed iron door. "Don't blame me, little girl. Don't tell me that we are inside. Please, I still have a son who is only 10 years old. I am a mother and I don't want him to lose his mother's love at such a young age." The woman's pleading came from behind the door. The middle-aged man was stunned by his wife's action. "Why are you still stunned? Come and block the door. It's better for one of us to die than for you and me to die. The woman scolded in a low voice. The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment and stretched out his right hand to hold the door tightly. It was just a door away, and Xiao Miao heard these words. Why did you push yourself out? It was clearly agreed to block the door together. Xiao Miao was just a 17-year-old girl. She had never had any evil thoughts about others in her heart, and she had never experienced the cruelty of human nature. Xiao Miao stood alone in front of the door at a loss, and her beautiful face was full of despair. 2 lines of tears fell from her tearful eyes. It seemed that the woman's first words reminded her of her mother who was seriously ill in bed at home. I can't die. Mom can't lose me, otherwise no one will buy medicine for her. The strong desire to survive made Xiao Miao unable to sit and wait for death. The footsteps outside were disturbed by the movement inside and were coming quickly at this moment. Looking around, there was only a small locker where she could hide. Fortunately, there was nothing messy inside and Xiao Miao was very petite, so she hid in it easily. Hiding in the locker, Xiao Miao didn't dare to breathe. She covered her mouth with both hands and looked through the only gap. A black shadow appeared in the back kitchen at this moment. The couple also felt a pair of footsteps walking outside the door, and they were a little surprised why there was no scream. At the same time, they couldn't help but worry whether Xiao Miao, who had just been pushed out, would expose their position. Okay, the cat and mouse game should be over. The black-robed man's playful voice reached the ears of the 3 people, and a beating heart was tense. The couple pushed Xiao Miao out, but it backfired. The black-robed man slowly walked to the door and pushed hard with both hands. The huge force instantly pushed the iron door open, and the 2 people inside fell to the ground. Don't kill me, don't kill me. The woman looked terrified, her hands kept retreating, and at the same time she kicked her husband forward with her feet. The middle-aged man was kicked and dared not make a sound, his whole face was filled with fear. The black-robed man sneered and slashed the cold knife in his hand. Tear. The sound of the blade cutting through the flesh and blood sounded cold and harsh in the small kitchen. The middle-aged man covered his neck and kept twitching on the ground, and blood spurted out like a spring. Ah! The woman was frightened and screamed. The black-robed man did not choose to take action, but watched with enjoyment. He liked the look of fear in others, only. The knife she slashed out when she was on the verge of collapse was so wonderful and enjoyable. Soon the middle-aged man died of excessive bleeding, and the woman was frightened out of her wits. She kept begging for mercy. Don't kill me, please, I have money and I can give you money. You bunch of cheap lives, it is your honor to be able to dedicate your lives to the great Lord of Tianluo. How can it be compared with the stinky copper in your mouth? The man in black robe was angered by this sentence. Ah, my hand. An alternative cutting was staged in the kitchen. The shrill screams fell into Xiao Miao's ears, and the intense fear made her tremble all over. A pair of legs kept twitching, tightly closing a pair of tearful eyes. Just when Xiao Miao thought that all this was about to end, the woman's words completely threw her into the bottomless abyss. That woman is also there, why doesn't she die? The woman's painful face showed a trace of resentment and distortion. Oh, there's another person, the black-robed man said. Instantly, the woman's voice stopped. The black-robed man was covered in bright red blood. He walked out of the kitchen and quickly locked his eyes on the cabinet. He walked over with a bloody knife in his hand with a cruel smile on his face. Every step he took seemed to step on Xiao Miao's fragile heart. Seeing that the other party was getting closer and closer, Xiao Miao had no hope of survival. His heart was like a dead sea, and he murmured, I'm sorry. Mom. When the black-robed man stretched out a hand and was about to open the cabinet door, a pair of white and strong hands grabbed him. The black-robed man was shocked and looked around to see a young man who appeared beside him. The young man's eyes seemed not to be human. The black-robed man felt a terrifying murderous intent from them, and at this moment he seemed to fall into the underworld. Shen Shucho exerted force on his hand, and one hand was twisted into a twist in an instant. The bones drilled out from the joints, and the gloomy white light was accompanied by flesh and blood. The black-robed man screamed in pain, and fainted on the spot due to the intense pain. Shen Shucho looked indifferent, and the dark power in his hand was activated, and the bone that had drilled out from the joint burst out and pierced his throat in an instant. After dealing with the black-robed man, Shen Shuqiu opened the cabinet, looked at Xiao Miao who was curled up in a ball, grabbed the trembling little palm and said calmly, "It's okay, follow me." Xiao Miao, who had originally accepted death calmly, was stunned at this moment. She opened her eyes after hearing this familiar voice, and Shen Shuqiu's gentle face was reflected in her heart. "My legs can't walk anymore." Although Xiao Miao didn't know why Shen Shuqiu, who was in the same class, appeared here, the crisis seemed to have been resolved at the moment. Xiao Miao lowered her head and hugged her legs embarrassedly. The next moment, a pair of hands took her out from inside. "Ah!" Xiao Miao exclaimed with her cherry mouth. She secretly glanced at Shen Shuqiu and saw that he looked calm. Her whole face suddenly flushed. She lowered her head and wished she could crawl into the cave. Feeling the warm breath of the boy in her arms, Xiao Miao felt her heart beating so fast. An inexplicable feeling emerged in her heart, and then she couldn't help but look up and peek at Shen Shuqiu's angular face. Xiao Miao didn't know what it felt like, but she knew that she had an unprecedented sense of security in his arms at this moment. Shen Shuqiu's hands deep in the darkness were like a light in the darkness, pulling her back from the edge of the abyss. Xiao Miao didn't want to ask why the little transparent person in the class usually appeared here, and why he could kill the black-robed man. She just wanted to feel this warm and safe harbor for a short time. "Thank you," Xiao Miao said softly. "Don't thank me, just live well." Shen Shuqiu said indifferently. "Yeah, you are also classmate Shen." Xiao Miao in his arms hummed lightly. Shen Shuqiu suddenly asked, "What's going on here?" When he went in, he found a male corpse and a corpse whose gender could not be determined. Thinking of the scene just now, the woman pushed her out, and the grievance in her heart suddenly surged up in her heart, crystal tears fell from her eyes, and then she told what had just happened. Shen Shuqiu was silent when he heard it, and looked down at Xiao Miao who was still trembling slightly, and didn't know what to feel for a while. "Try to be gentle. Why are you so stupid?" Xiao Miao shrank in her arms and didn't say anything. This gentle voice can make her feel at ease. Muttered in her heart, "Miao Miao is not stupid." Soon Shen Shuqiu took Xiao Miao to the stairs. "Go upstairs. The third floor is safe." Xiao Miao came down from his arms with a worried look on her face. "What about you?" Shen Shuqiu signaled that she didn't need to worry about herself, and then left. Only when Shen Shuqiu's back disappeared from her sight did Xiao Miao turn around and slowly go upstairs. The moment she turned around, Xiao Miao's body trembled, and sadness surged in her heart. Her beautiful face was filled with pain, and something seemed to be pulling out of her mind. Zhang Qianqiu didn't see all this happening. She was thinking about how to deal with these bad guys who made her husband angry. Chapter 51. The battle on the street outside had also come to an end. Boom! A deafening roar exploded, like the roar of a giant dragon resounding through the sky. The body of Dark Crow was swept down by the silver spear in Su Chengkong's hand. The pair of black wings that had spread out were also torn off by Su Chengkong in half. In an instant, smoke and dust rose like a tornado, and a big pit was blasted out of the ground under the feet by the terrifying huge force. Even the monster in the Jaden realm had several shocking blood holes on its huge body, and its terrifying momentum gradually became weak. Su Chengkong stood tall and straight in the air, his eyes full of self-confidence. He exuded a powerful aura, like an unshakable mountain. The silver spear in his hand was like a giant dragon in the sky, with endless roars. 1 against 2, Su Chengkong showed his powerful strength almost from the beginning, and it was an overwhelming situation from beginning to end. Lord Su is really strong. 1 against 2 is a crushing victory. That's nonsense. When Lord Su appears, is there any monster that can't be solved? Lord Su is worthy of being the guardian of Su City. The people in the Mingyu Bureau below were full of admiration, and were deeply impressed by the arrogant figure. Su Man looked at the familiar figure and the overwhelming fighting power with her autumn eyes. Although Su Man disliked and even hated this brother who was related by blood, she had to admit his innate self-confidence and the brilliance that continued to bloom on him. If it hadn't been for that incident, perhaps Su Man would have also felt the love from her brother. But she could never get over that hurdle in her heart, even though many years had passed. The forbidden love in her heart had long since died like a dead leaf under the scorching sun. "Captain, do you have the contact information of Lord Su?" At this time, Yuan Shui whispered to Su Man. "Don't think about it. If you want, just ask yourself. Su Man glanced at Yuan Shui and knew what she was thinking. Ah, I'm timid, Captain, just give it to me. Yuan Shui immediately drooped her little face and said coquettishly. Don't think about it, he likes men on men, and he doesn't like you with baby faces and big breasts. Su Man said coldly. Yuan Shui. N airy summation O_O winking face. Unless you can become a man, maybe he will like you. Su Man said playfully, pinching Yuan Shui's tender little face. No, no, Yuan Shui raised her hand and refused repeatedly, quietly retreating to the side to digest what she had just heard. She secretly glanced at Su Chengkong in the sky, and a strange thought came to her mind. Sir Su, you don't want to know that your secret has been spread. He, Su Chengkong is worthy of being ranked second, and his strength is really strong. The smoke and dust on the ground dissipated, and the gloomy laughter of Dark Crow came from it. You bunch of Tianluo fools, today I will make sure that none of you can leave. Su Chengkong looked down coldly. It's a pity that Sir Su can't kill me today, ha ha ha. The seriously injured body of Dark Crow walked out of the smoke and dust, laughing wantonly on his hideous face. Su Chengkong frowned upon hearing this, and a bad feeling rose in his heart as he looked at the fearless Dark Crow. The next moment, Su Chengkong seemed to have thought of something, and his face suddenly changed. Not good, the Xuanzhu of Taowu. Su Chengkong blurted out. Lord Su, you should go back and take a look. The Dark Crow had a mocking look on his face. The Dark Crow was still misleading Su Chengkong at this moment, and he had received the message of retreat during the previous battle. The Xuanzhu of Taowu had already been obtained, and they only needed to evacuate Su City. The Dark Crow was just afraid that Su Chengkong would be desperate and would kill him at all costs. Su Chengkong's face was extremely ugly, and he vaguely felt that something was wrong at that time. These two people were obviously very weak, but they had been waiting here for him to arrive before choosing to take action. It turned out that their goal was always to contain him, including the 300 citizens trapped in Ningfang building, who were also an invisible iron chain. The appearance of two Jaden Realm Masters meant that only Su Chengkong could deal with them. He was trapped by a simple trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain. After all, the reason for this was that he was the only Jindan Realm Master in Su City. Su Chengkong couldn't split himself, so he would definitely ask for more people from his superiors after this incident. In fact, each city generally had one Jindan and two Jaden Realm Masters as assistants, but Su Chengkong was too arrogant and refused the people sent by his superiors. Now, he could only eat Coptus chinensis as a mute, unable to express his sufferings. Su Chengkong said with an ugly face, Suman, you go in and save people, I'll go back. After speaking, Su Chengkong glanced at Dark Crow coldly and then galloped away in the direction of Mingyu Bureau. Now Su Chengkong had no choice but to give up and continue to deal with him. No matter what, he had to go back and take a look. Suman understood something after listening to the conversation between the two, and her pretty face darkened. As for how many people are alive inside, I don't know. You can look for them slowly. Dark Crow looked at the people in the Mingyu Bureau not far away and sneered coldly. Then he jumped on the monster and left in front of everyone. The faces of everyone in Mingyu Bureau were ashen. It's so abominable, Tianluo, those fools. It would be nice if we were stronger. Stop talking nonsense and come with me first to save people. Suman said with a livid face. Immediately afterwards, everyone followed Suman towards Ningfang Tower. When they entered, everyone in the Mingyu Bureau was immediately shocked by the sight in front of them. The third floor was filled with citizens, which was completely different from the casualties Suman imagined. After Shen Shucho disposed of all the black clothes, he left and searched for them based on the scent of the monster. He said that this group of people would not be able to leave Su City today. But Dark Crow, who had just left not far away, stopped now. Just because there was a black figure in front of him blocking the way. Who are you, Your Excellency? Dark Crow looked solemn and looked up and down with his scarlet eyes. He did not feel a trace of spiritual power from the man in black in front of him. Although there was no spiritual power fluctuation, Dark Crow still did not relax his vigilance. Since you dare to block his way, it must not be simple. The person who wants your life. Shen Shucho's eyes were cold. Shen Shucho never considered himself a murderer, ever since he experienced 9 reincarnations. Returning to the original world again, with his heavenly cultivation, even though he was suppressed by heaven in the nascent soul stage, he was still invincible in the world, but Shen Shucho did not want to be arrogant and domineering. He just wants to live each day peacefully like an ordinary person, but what happens is often not what he wants. The Tianluo organization that suddenly appeared and massacred people in Sioux City completely angered Shen Shucho. He wanted to prevent this group of people from leaving Sushi City, and he also wanted Tianluo to know that Sushi City was not a place they could get involved in. Your Majesty is too arrogant. Even Su Chengkong can't kill me. Dark Crow sat on the demon body and snorted coldly. Even though there was no spiritual energy fluctuation in this person, Dark Crow didn't think that the other person could really kill him. What Su Chengkong can't kill, I can. Shen Shucho said lightly. The next moment, a terrifying wave of energy crushed him instantly. Dark Crow's expression suddenly turned frightened. The man in black, who had no spiritual energy fluctuations in front of him just now, was able to burst out with such a powerful momentum at this moment. What shocked Dark Crow the most was that the pressure this person brought to him was actually more intense than that of Su Chengkong. If facing Su Chengkong, Dark Crow was still confident that he could fight with him, then facing the fluctuations in this man's body, Dark Crow had no fighting spirit in his heart. At this moment, Dark Crow had only one thought in his mind, and that was to escape from this person. Just when he was about to abandon the beast and run away, an eternal and vast divine thought descended on one person and one beast. The cold murderous intent was like a winterlock on a cold night. Dark Crow's body was stiff, and even the flowing blood seemed to be frozen. The depths of his scarlet eyes were filled with fear, and the breath of death was eroding his heart all the time. Looking at the invincible Shen Shucho in front of him, Dark Crow was in the swamp. No matter how hard he struggled, it was of no avail. Death had become a foregone conclusion at this moment. Before the Tianluo organization took action, they had already figured out Sioux City. In the huge Sioux City, there is only one Su Chengkong who is in the Golden Core realm. But who is this person in front of him who is so frightened that the Dark Crow can no longer fight at all? When did Su Shi hide such a terrifying existence? Like a dark beast, when it appears in front of you, it's already time to die. Who are you? The Dark Crow trembled like an ant crawling under a towering tree. Sioux City is not a place you can get involved in. Shen Shucho's tone was indifferent. The next moment, the long knife picked up from Ningfang Tower appeared in Shen Shucho's hand. An extremely cold sword energy condensed around the body, as if the whole world was covered with a layer of frost. In an instant, this seemingly slow sword slashed down on one person and one beast. The river of stars poured out, the tide roared and the lightning flashed, and the cold sword energy seemed to split the world into two. This sword made all the ghosts and gods howl under the sword. Roar! The demonic beast in the Tribulation Pill realm let out a shrill beastly roar in fear. Dark Crow's eyes bulged, the death wish in his heart reached its peak, and black despair overwhelmed him. He knew that he could not dodge this knife no matter what. All he could do was watch the blade of death dilate in his pupils. Dark Crow felt extremely regretful at this moment, knowing that there was such an unknown terror hidden in Sioux City, and he would not be willing to die no matter what. He is now in the Tribulation Pill realm, and the spiritual energy on Blue Star is reviving at a faster pace. There will definitely be a place for him in the future. He is really unwilling to die here now. Boom! The endless sword energy will instantly decompose each person, and the warm blood will solidify. After killing one person and one beast, the long knife in Shen Shucho's hand could no longer hold up, and the blade collapsed into pieces. Just killing them will not satisfy Shen Shucho, and there are other members of the Tianluo organization who have not yet been solved. Boom! At this time, a thunder exploded in the sky not far away, and a familiar smell fell on Shen Shucho's consciousness. Shen Shucho looked shocked and quickly dropped the hilt of the knife and galloped in that direction. He smelled Zhang Qianzhou. Not long after Shen Shucho left, Suman and his team from the Mingyu Bureau were attracted by the movement here after settling the citizens in Ningfang building. Arriving here, Suman was immediately shocked by the sight in front of him and was speechless, with disbelief in his beautiful eyes. The Tianluo organization that was fighting against Su Chengkong was actually broken into countless pieces scattered on the street. This place seemed to have turned into the Nine Nether cold prison. The cold breath lingered for a long time, forming a terrifying magnetic field to isolate everyone. Who did this? Sumin was shocked. In an abandoned factory on the outskirts of Suzhou City. Everyone in the Tianluo organization looked at the woman in black in front of them as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Who are you? The young man asked with a wary expression. After getting the Xuanju from Mingyu Bureau, a group of Tianluo members headed by young people came here. There is a teleportation circle that they have already carved here, and they only need to wait for the arrival of Dark Crow before they can leave Su City safely. But what I didn't expect was that when I arrived here, I found a deserted woman in black inside, and even their teleportation circle was destroyed. What made the young man so wary the most was that this woman seemed to have no spiritual power fluctuations, but the moment she went there, she made everyone tremble. It doesn't matter who I am, what's important is that you made my husband unhappy, so you all will die. Zhang Qianzhou glanced at the other party with his dark eyes. The ruthless words sentenced everyone to death. Madam, is there any misunderstanding? I don't know the gentleman you are talking about. The young man felt confused and could not understand who the gentleman in Zhang Qianzhou's words was. The young man carefully explained that he did not want to be an enemy of the woman in front of him. The most important thing was that there seemed to be a voice in his heart that kept telling him that if they really wanted to fight, none of them would be a match. It doesn't matter. Just remember not to make my husband unhappy in the next life. Zhang Qianzhou said calmly. Then I didn't bother to explain so much to them, just kill anyone who made the husband angry. After all, Zhang Qianzhou is the best at killing people. Inside the abandoned factory, a cold and dead atmosphere surrounded him, and terrifying black thunder condensed in Zhang Qianzhou's hands. The next moment, the terrifying black lightning exploded, blooming into countless threads and covering everyone. No, the young man's face suddenly changed. This powerful force that destroyed all things instantly killed him. Beat down. At this moment, the young man only felt how insignificant he was. Facing the thousands of black lightnings, he had nowhere to hide. He has never seen this kind of power even in the Lord of Tianluo. Why is there such a terrifying person in this world? In an instant, black thunder light washed down like raindrops. Boom. This force filled with a sense of destruction exploded instantly, and the abandoned factory turned into pieces like tofu. Just when the young man thought he was certain to die, a thud pulled him out of the terrifying lightning. Shen Shuchou held the young man in his hand and landed next to Zhang Qianzhou, frowning and saying, "Didn't I tell you to wait at home?" "Sir, Qianzhou can't stay alone." Zhang Qianzhou smiled happily when he saw Shen Shuchou's cold face. The young man who was picked up listened to the conversation between the two and raised his head to look at the extra man. His eyes were still filled with the fear of death as he trembled. "Who are you?" The young man really couldn't understand why there were two such people hidden in Su City. Shen Shuchou had no intention of talking nonsense to him, and directly enveloped him with his spiritual thoughts to search for his soul. The reason why he was saved was to ensure that there were no other Tianluo organizations in the entire Su City. Within a few breaths, Shen Shuchou knew everything he wanted. Most of the members of the Tianluo organization have left through the teleportation circle, and currently there is no one except the young man. In addition, the young man's identity within the Tianluo organization is still a minor deacon and elder. The Tianluo organization's foothold does not have a clear point. It is widely distributed and can be found in almost every city. The most important thing is that Shen Shuchou also learned from the young man's memory that the technique they practiced was called Tianyun magic, which was a method of seizing the souls of monsters to control them. Not only that, the Tianluo organization can actually extract the true blood of monsters and use it to transform. Discovering this, Shen Shuchou felt more and more that this was very similar to the Black Underworld sect of the Fourth Life. Perhaps the only difference is that the skills practiced by the Black Underworld sect can cultivate monsters into their own incarnations. Later, Shen Shuchou also saw a man sitting on a beast bone throne in the young man's memory. This person was shrouded in darkness and couldn't see his face clearly. If his guess was correct, he was the master of the Tianluo organization. The next moment, a prying gaze fell on Shen Shuchou, and the man on the beast bone throne opened his eyes at this moment, with a pair of scarlet eyes filled with raging evil intent. The two people's eyes seemed to be thousands of miles apart, yet they seemed to be so close. Between the four eyes, an invisible storm unfolded. Sioux City is not something you can contaminate, otherwise I will kill you no matter where you are. Shen Shucho faced the man's direct gaze and sounded a serious warning. The man's scarlet eyes looked at Shen Shucho meaningfully and then closed them. After exiting the young man's sea of memory, Shen Shucho felt a little surprised. This person could actually discover him through his memory. Shen Shucho only felt that there were crouching tigers, hidden dragons on the current blue star. Although he could not clearly see the face of the Lord of Tianluo, the other party also did not observe Qing Shen Shucho. This can be regarded as the first contest between the two. Apart from these, Shen Shucho could obviously feel that the spiritual energy in the air was gradually getting richer, and his cultivation was slowly recovering towards a higher state. As Zhang Qianqiu said, the way of heaven here is gradually becoming complete, and the reason why cultivation is suppressed may be because of the incompleteness of the way of heaven. When the way of heaven in this world is complete, the undercurrent on Blue Star will only get bigger and bigger. Regarding these, Shen Shucho has nothing to worry about. What should come will always come. Then he slapped the young man to death, and Shen Shucho picked up a green bead from the other man's hand. From it, Shen Shucho could clearly feel the restless and violent power. Is this the true blood of the ancient ferocious beast? Shen Shucho secretly said. No wonder the Tianluo organization wants to snatch this. Once the opponent really wants to recreate it through the true blood of Yangzhou, it will definitely be a terrifying existence. Sir, what's so good about this? It's not as good as I am Xiaohei. Zhang Qianqiu looked at the Taoju Xuanzhu and said with disgust. Shen Shucho was slightly ashamed. After all, Xiaohei was also a black-winged tiger of the Mahayana stage. Naturally, the real blood of Yaoju cannot be compared, but it is not necessarily true if it is the real blood of Yaoju. While the two were talking, a figure in the sky was speeding toward the two of them. Su Chengkong returned to Mingyu Bureau, but it was already too late, and the Xuanzhu pearl had disappeared. With the disappearance of the Xuanzhu and the large number of deaths in Sioux City, Su Chengkong didn't have to think about the punishment he would receive from his superiors. It was entirely his fault to divert the tiger away from the mountain. Now he could only follow the scent left at the scene to see if there was any chance of saving it. But just now, a terrifying wave of energy erupted from the front. Su Chengkong was shocked and flew towards this direction faster. In an instant, Su Chengkong's tall body came to a ruins. Feeling the aftermath of the power here, Su Chengkong's pupils trembled and his heart trembled slightly. Just the aftermath of this power made Su Chengkong feel fear from the depths of his soul. What happened here, and who caused this explosive power? But Su Chengkong soon found the answer, and saw two figures of a man and a woman in the ruins at his feet. Both of them had their backs to him, and Su Chengkong found that he could not see through the cultivation level of the two of them at all. But he could really feel the strong sense of oppression, especially that woman, who was like a peerless fierce god, with every move she made carrying the power of world destruction. In the end, Su Chengkong saw the missing Zhanzu from the man's hand. Su Chengkong's heart was filled with emotions and his throat was rolling for a long time before he respectfully turned to their backs and said, "This is Su Chengkong from the Mingyu Bureau. I don't know who the two seniors are." Feeling that it was a bit rude to fly in the air, he immediately landed on land not far away. The two looked nervously waiting for a reply. Su Chengkong didn't know where these two powerful men came from, but he didn't feel the murderous intention from them, not to mention that the Xuanzhu pearl was still in the opponent's hands. Just a passerby, Shen Shucho changed his voice and said hoarsely. Hearing these words, Su Chengkong understood that the other party did not want to tell his identity, so he simply did not ask again and said respectfully, "Thank you two seniors for helping me stop the Xuanzhu. Chengkong will definitely report it to the superiors." Su Chengkong did not ask for the Xuanzhu directly but in another way. But if the other party didn't give it to him, Su Chengkong would have to break his teeth and swallow it. "This thing is of no use to me, just give it back to you." Shen Shucho smiled, and then threw the Taoju Xuanzhu into Su Chengkong's hand. Su Chengkong once again expresses his gratitude to the two seniors for their help on behalf of Mingyu Bureau. Shen Shucho did not reply, but took Zhang Qianqiu away from here. Looking at the two figures who disappeared in the blink of an eye, Su Chengkong let out a long sigh of relief. Facing this unknown existence, the terrifying pressure was too great. Su Chengkong, who was usually proud of himself, felt like a weak ant facing a giant elephant, and his heart was full of powerless despair. When did this exist in Su City? Su Chengkong's thoughts were the same as those of Tian Luo and others. Mingyu Bureau's Su Man also cleared the streets, and only found a broken long knife at the scene. The number of people remaining in Ningfang building has been counted, with a total of 260 survivors and a total of 40 casualties. Su Man also questioned them immediately, but their answers surprised Su Man. I don't know, it seems that someone appeared and killed the group of black-robed people. Hiss, why can't I remember what that person looks like all of a sudden? I can't remember what that person looks like either, how could this happen? Su Man asked several people in a row and they all answered like this. With doubts in his mind, he simply retrieved the surveillance video. But when he saw the black figure in the video, Su Man's heart was shocked. This figure was so similar to the figure in Yuan Shui's copy of the video today. Su Man even felt that the two figures overlapped to form one person. It's just a pity that the face of the black figure in the video can't be seen clearly, as if it was mosaicked. Su Man tried many ways, but still couldn't see the face clearly, so she had to give up helplessly. Later, Su Chengkong's figure returned here and told him about the couple he met. Su Man didn't hide anything, and told him everything that happened after Su Chengkong left, including showing him the video. What shocked Su Man even more was that Su Chengkong couldn't see through the face of the black figure in the video even with his Jindan realm. Since he doesn't want others to know, don't bother him. I will report this to them. Su Chengkong said after understanding it. Yeah. Su Man hummed lightly. No matter what this person hiding in Su City is like, he has helped the Mingyu Bureau so much. And from these incidents, it also shows that this person has no harm to Su City, which is a good thing for the Mingyu Bureau. Man, are you still unwilling to forgive your brother? To resolve this Tianluo operation, Su Chengkong looked at Su Man and said. Su Chengkong, I don't want to talk to you about this, don't expect me to forgive you. Upon hearing this, Su Man's face suddenly darkened, and then she left with a group of team members. Looking at Su Man's cold and emotionless words, Su Chengkong sighed. And Shen Shucho also returned to his residence with Zhang Qianqiu. Although he dealt with these troubles, there was still a big trouble, Zhang Qianqiu, that gave him a headache. Unknowingly, the night fell quietly. Zhang Qianqiu, how old are you? Don't you have your own room? Shen Shucho looked at Zhang Qianqiu, who got into the bed with an angry face. Qianqiu will always be the little girl next to the master. Zhang Qianqiu hugged Shen Shucho and buried his head in his arms. You get out. I won't. Shen Shucho felt that his brain was about to explode. Zhang Qianqiu didn't listen to him at all now. Even when he wanted to get up and change rooms, he found himself controlled by Zhang Qianqiu's cultivation. Zhang Qianqiu, what on earth are you going to do? I'm angry. Shen Shucho had no choice but to show off his dignity as a gentleman. Qianqiu can only sleep safely when she hugs you. Does the gentleman think Qianqiu is a bad woman? Zhang Qianqiu raised her aggrieved face and cried. Hearing Zhang Qianqiu's lies, Shen Shucho laughed angrily. You don't feel safe, and I should be the one who feels insecure sleeping with you like this. Zhang Qianqiu didn't care, and buried his head in Shen Shucho's arms like an octopus tied to it tightly. Seeing this, Shen Shucho accepted it resignedly, as long as Zhang Qianqiu didn't do anything. But Shen Shucho still thought wrong about Zhang Qianqiu after all. After a while, Zhang Qianqiu's head came up unconsciously. The next moment, the wet lips pressed tightly against Shen Shucho's, and Shen Shucho suddenly opened his eyes wide. The tender tongue opened his teeth and stirred the thick sticky liquid, and love was intertwined and intoxicated at this moment. A morbid love appeared on Zhang Qianqiu's face, and he frantically demanded from Shen Shucho. He hugged Shen Shucho tightly with both hands, as if he wanted to rub him into his body completely. The girl's fragrance and warm breath were restless, stimulating Shen Shucho's body. As if something was about to awaken, the lips separated for a long time. The girl's fragrance still remained between the lips and teeth, and Shen Shucho's face was a little complicated. I thought it was over here, but I didn't expect Zhang Qianqiu to be more presumptuous, and his restless little hand suddenly reached down. Zhang Qianqiu, stop it, You can't do it there. Shen Shuchu's body trembled violently and shouted in fear. The sky is full of stars, and the sky is full of stars. In the vast and boundless star-filled galaxy. In a deserted planet. 2 bright stars streaked across the sky, shining and shining like a beautiful painting. In the dazzling stars, 2 women walked out. This is the 138th planet we have come to. Are you reliable? How long will it take for me to find my master? Qin Hongyi frowned and said dissatisfiedly. When he arrived at the planet, Qin Hongyi's vast consciousness covered the sky and the earth. Qin Hongyi did not feel the figure he had been thinking about on this planet, and there was not even a living thing. It has been a long time since she started looking for her master with this woman in the colorful clouds. She has crossed several star fields but has not found the master. Every time she arrives at a planet, Qin Hongyi is both expectant and nervous. Occasionally, she will wonder what will happen if she sees her master again. Will her master hate her? Will her master not want her anymore? Whenever Qin Hongyi thinks that she killed her master with her own hands, her heart is as painful as 1,000 arrows piercing her heart. But no matter what, as long as she finds her master, Qin Hongyi decides to take her master away and never allow anyone to get involved. Even the woman next to her who is currently an ally. After so long, Qin Hongyi has learned her name from her and her relationship with her master, but she has never seen her true face. And this time, Qin Hongyi's arrival once again made her expectant heart empty again. Her beautiful eyes were filled with disappointment, and her tone became impatient. You fool, you're getting anxious now. You didn't cherish me when I was here, and now you regret it. Yan Xuanxi sneered. You. Qin Hongyi's beautiful eyes were filled with evil. This was not the first time she called herself an idiot. What, am I wrong? Do you think I don't want to find the master? If you want to find him, don't be impatient. Yan Xuanxi continued. That's my master, not your master. You shameless woman, don't even dare to show your face to others. Qin Hongyi's body was filled with evil spirits, and she started arguing like a little girl fighting for a toy. Yan Xuanxi called her an idiot, and Qin Hongyi called her shameless. My appearance can only be seen by the master, how can it be seen by a fool like you? Master, where are you? I really want to be pitied by the master again. Yan Xuanxi's face turned red, and her legs couldn't help but shrink inward. Zheng, looking at Yan Xuanxi's little movements, Qin Hongyi couldn't help it anymore. The cold incense in her hand lit up, and the terrifying sword intent enveloped her like a black cloud. You want to fight again? Today, I'll let you distinguish between the big and small kings. Yan Xuanxi didn't take this sword intent seriously at all. The colorful clouds surrounded the stars, and the runes of the avenue emerged. The 2 of them quarreled almost every day during this period, and fought each other more than once, but each time they couldn't decide the winner and no one could do anything to the other. Yan Xuanxi chuckled, and the colorful clouds lifted her up and exuded incomparable mystery. When she raised her hand, a star power containing the avenue rune blasted towards Qin Hongyi. Qin Hongyi was not to be outdone. The cold incense burst out with a monstrous devil flame, and the terrifying sword intent slashed over. In an instant, 2 different imperial powers hit the earth like a meteor, and powerful energy exploded. The void was shaken, and the mountains and rivers collapsed, the earth collapsed, and terrifying cracks appeared on the sky. On one side was Yan Xuanxi, who possessed the power of the stars, and on the other side was Qin Hongyi, who was full of devilish flames. Beautiful women of different styles fought each other. Within a few breaths, the 2 of them fought each other for no less than 100 times. Boom! The next moment, the entire planet seemed to be unable to withstand the power of the 2 and collapsed at this moment. Forget it, I can't get a result with you, so I'd better find the young master. Yan Xuanxi looked at the shattered planet and lost interest immediately. HMPH. Qin Hongyi snorted coldly and put away the Lengxiang sword. On the blue planet, Shen Shucho lay on the bed with no desire to live. Zhang Qianqiu in his arms hugged him tightly like an octopus. The power from the superior suppressed Shen Shucho firmly and made him unable to move. Although they didn't need to go to sleep, Zhang Qianqiu didn't want to let go and just kept lying on Shen Shucho. Sir, you smell so good. Zhang Qianqiu blinked his lustful eyes and looked at. Watching. Zhang Qianqiu, have you hugged me enough? It's already dawn, can you let me get up? Shen Shucho pinched Zhang Qianqiu's tender face helplessly. Zhang Qianzhou's behavior last night really scared him. Fortunately, Shen Shuqiu showed his dignity as a gentleman in the end and managed to keep his innocence without making a big mistake. But in this case, Zhang Qianzhou still shamelessly hugged him all night. The girl's delicate body fragrance and the warm breath that was about to come out tortured Shen Shuqiu all the time. Not enough is not enough. Qianzhou just wants to hold her husband for the rest of her life. Like a kitten, Zhang Qianzhou gently rubbed Shen Shuqiu's chin with her docile hair, acting coquettishly. Shen Shuqiu felt his head hurt. How can any student do this to you? I am your husband. It is treason for you to do this. Then how can you, sir, abandon your students? Sir, you have already abandoned Qianzhou twice. This time Qianzhou will not let you leave again no matter what. Zhang Qianzhou's eyes suddenly looked sad. Shen Shuqiu fell silent immediately. Whenever Zhang Qianzhou mentioned this matter, he didn't know what to say. He couldn't explain how important he was in Zhang Qianzhou's heart, and Shen Shuqiu didn't know. Mr. Qianzhou is really easy to satisfy. As long as Qianzhou is accompanied by his husband and can give Qianzhou a home, Qianzhou will be the happiest. Zhang Qianzhou murmured quietly in his arms. In Zhang Qianzhou's heart, family and husband are indispensable. She did not hesitate to go through all kinds of hardships to finally find her husband. Zhang Qianzhou just wanted to cherish this hard-won opportunity. Zhang Qianzhou doesn't want to share her husband with anyone, and no one can take her husband away from her. If this person really existed, Zhang Qianzhou would definitely kill her. This is your home. Shen Shuqiu was silent for a moment and said, Sir, Qianzhou really likes you, so stay with Qianzhou forever. Zhang Qianzhou's eyes were wandering. Shen Shuqiu had mixed feelings and his eyes avoided Zhang Qianzhou's gaze. But the next moment, a pair of small hands turned Shen Shuqiu's head away and pulled him back. For a moment, their eyes met. Zhang Qianzhou's eyes were full of lustful love, which deeply touched Shen Shuqiu's heart. Then the mouth-watering red lips came up again. The wet feeling spread throughout the body like an electric shock. Shen Shuqiu was like a lamb, being pinned to the ground and slaughtered. He was thinking in his mind why things turned out like this. In the blink of an eye, it was already 3 days later. In the past 3 days, Shen Shuqiu has been pestered by Zhang Qianzhou. Shen Shuqiu was like a puppet, being played around by Zhang Qianzhou at will. The key is that he couldn't resist. Fortunately, Zhang Qianzhou didn't do anything too extreme. Zhang Qianzhou knew what her husband's acceptable range was, although she wanted to eat him up right away. But this process cannot be rushed. Zhang Qianzhou has plenty of time to peel off Shen Shuqiu bit by bit. Since there were no members of the Tianluo organization in Sioux City, the blockade was naturally lifted. At this moment, the chat in the class group is in full swing. Lao Wang, tomorrow is your college entrance examination. Whether you can get into your ideal university depends on your usual hard work. Xu Yang, then I guess I'm finished. Chen Nan, don't panic when something happens, because panic is of no use. Xu Yang, Gangun, don't say sarcastic words. Fang Yu, my dream is to be admitted to Shenwu University. Zhang Wenbin, it seems that you need at least 800 points to get into Shenwu University. Li Hai, hey, it's too difficult to get into Shenwu University, which is ranked number 1 in Sioux City. For a while, everyone began to start a discussion around Shenwu University. There are thousands of universities across the country, but only 50 have famous names. Among them happens to be Shenwu University in Suzhou City, which ranks 13th among the 50 outstanding universities in the country. As for the first place, it is Tianyi University in Kyoto, which tens of millions of people are trying to get into. Only a few people can enter every year, but for Shen Shuqiu, this is not within the scope of what he wants. The main reason is that the imperial capital is too far away from Sioux City, and you have to move there if you go there. Since I plan to go to college, my first choice is to choose in Sioux City. The university you choose cannot be too bad, so naturally the only one you can choose is Shenwu University. Shen Shuqiu just glanced at the group messages and didn't pay attention. He was just a diving fish in the group and basically didn't bubble up. In addition to the messages in the group, Chu Siqi also sent dozens of messages. Shen Shuqiu blocked her after being seen by Zhang Qianzhou. Looking at the dozens of messages, Shen Shucho clicked on them curiously. Chu Sichi. Shen Shucho, I hate you. Chu Sichi. Shen Shucho, you are a big idiot. Chu Sichi. Why are you ignoring me? Shen Shucho smiled helplessly, feeling that it was meaningless and had no desire to reply to the message. Shen Shucho didn't want to talk to this little princess who had been pampered since childhood. He also knew that because of his last rescue, he might have a different position in her heart, but Shen Shucho really didn't want to be too involved. After a brief glance, she turned off her phone and walked out of the bedroom. At this moment, Zhang Qianqiu was watching TV on the sofa in the living room. If you ask Zhang Qianqiu what she is most interested in when she comes to Blue Star, she has only two answers. One is a gentleman and the other is watching TV. Sir, come and accompany Qianqiu. Seeing Shen Shucho come out, Zhang Qianqiu's eyes flashed with joy and he pulled Shen Shucho over without any explanation. Seeing this, Shen Shucho had no choice but to accompany Zhang Qianqiu to watch boring love dramas. When he saw the camera on TV showing the heroine being hit by a speeding car and flying into the air, Shen Shucho twitched the corner of his mouth speechlessly. But Zhang Qianqiu enjoyed it, and the happy time always passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the next morning. This time Zhang Qianqiu did not pester Shen Shucho again, but looked unhappy. What's wrong? Shen Shucho asked curiously. Mr. Qianqiu will be leaving for a while. Zhang Qianqiu said unhappily with a drooped face. Hearing this, Shen Shucho felt inexplicably happy, and said with a calm expression on his face, is it because of the rejection of heaven? Sir, the speed of the recovery of heaven in this world is a bit fast, and the rejection of me is getting bigger and bigger. Coupled with the last attack, I obviously feel that I must leave immediately. Zhang Qianqiu lay sprawled on the bed with a glum look on his face. It's okay, this will always be your home and you are always welcome to come back. Shen Shucho looked at Zhang Qianqiu who was upset and comforted him. Zhang Qianqiu's departure is still a good thing for Shen Shucho. Otherwise, it would be really difficult for him to restrain Zhang Qianqiu's actions, not to mention that he couldn't watch Zhang Qianqiu all the time because he had to go to school. Quote, Sir, you are the best. Quote, Zhang Qianqiu didn't know Shen Shucho's inner thoughts, but when he heard what he said, he immediately smiled and hugged him from behind. After comforting Zhang Qianqiu, Shen Shucho went out. At this moment, he felt that the air was fresh and sweet. After Shen Shucho left, Zhang Qianqiu smiled slyly. It was true that she wanted to leave for a while, but there was one thing she had not done yet, so she followed Shen Shucho quietly. When Shen Shucho came to grade 3 and grade 5, most of the people were already sitting in the class. Shen Shucho, I miss you so much. Seeing Shen Shucho's arrival, Shuyang immediately came over. Looking at the disgusting Shuyang, Shen Shucho cursed angrily, get lost. Shuyang. Shen Shucho, I almost never saw you again. Shuyang then recounted what happened in Ningfang building that day. Shen Shucho listened to him quietly and glanced out the window without replying. At this moment, Shen Shucho suddenly realized that someone was looking at him. He turned around and found that Chu Sichi in the front row was staring at him fiercely. Shuyang, who was still chattering, immediately closed his mouth, and a pair of gossipy eyes on his dark face swept between the two of them. Shen Shucho didn't seem to see Chu Siki's vicious look, and then avoided it again. Shen Shucho. Seeing that Shen Shucho didn't pay any attention to her, Chu Sichi suddenly became angry. From the moment Shen Shucho entered the class, her eyes had been fixed on him. She was originally waiting for him to talk to her, but in the end, Shen Shucho didn't even look at her. Is something wrong? Shen Shucho said calmly. Why are you ignoring me? Chu Siki's eyes were red and her expression was a little aggrieved. She sent so many messages to someone, but she didn't reply to any of them. She didn't mean to talk to her when she returned to the classroom. So she was just talking to herself in the air all day long. Didn't I agree? It's a deal, Shen Shucho said as if he didn't understand. What's settled is a word. Chu Sichi was stunned for a moment, but then she remembered that she said last time that she would never pay attention to Shen Shucho again. Then this annoying guy replied to himself and never talked to him again. Chu Sichi showed her cute little tiger teeth and wanted to bite him to death. Just when Chu Sichi wanted to say something else, there was a burst of exclamation in the class. Looking back, I found a girl in black standing at the door of the classroom. The beautiful and delicate face of the fairy is like the cold moon that has fallen into the human world. Beauty, which class are you in and who are you looking for? Can this schoolgirl add her contact information? The men in the class suddenly said in unison. Which class is she from? She's so beautiful, she feels even prettier than Chusichi. Some people also compared the girl with Chusichi in her class. Zhang Qianzhou ignored everyone's chatter and then looked at Shen Shucho. He immediately raised a smile and walked over cheerfully. This spring-like smile captured the hearts of many male classmates. Shen Shucho looked at Zhang Qianzhou's figure, his eyes became horrified. Sir, it turns out this is where you go to school. Zhang Qianzhou walked up to Shen Shucho and said with a smile. How did you come? Shen Shucho said with a stunned expression. Didn't Zhang Qianzhou say she was leaving? Why do you follow him here? Because Qianzhou misses you. Zhang Qianzhou winked and said playfully. As soon as these words came out, it immediately caused a sensation in the class. Everyone's eyes were looking back and forth between the two, and they were all speculating about the relationship between the two. Chusichi was listening to the conversation, and suddenly felt worried, and her heart suddenly became a little dark. Is this the reason why she ignored him? Is this the person Shen Shucho likes? Chusichi looked at the beautiful woman in front of her and had to admit that she was indeed very beautiful. Chusichi has always had great confidence in her appearance, but today she was shocked for the first time when she saw this woman who appeared out of nowhere. Different from ordinary beauty, this girl's beauty seems as if it should not appear in the world. She is more like the bright moon hanging in the clouds. The next moment, Chusichi found that the girl's eyes were looking at her, and she felt nervous for some reason. The whole body suddenly became a little cold. I wonder if it was Chusi's illusion. She saw a hint of murderous intent towards herself in the dark eyes of the woman in front of her. A cold chill shot through her heart, and Chusichi subconsciously wanted to escape. The only person who was more nervous than Chusichi was Shen Shucho. He understood why Zhang Qianzhou. Come here. Looking at Zhang Qianzhou, who was exuding cold murderous intent, Shen Shucho was ready to save Chusichi at any time. However, Zhang Qianzhou's next words interrupted Shen Shucho. You must be Chusichi. Zhang Qianzhou's cold black eyes looked down at the pink and white girl in front of him. Chusichi's eyes fell on the cold-looking girl in front of her. Hearing these words, Chusichi looked startled. Excuse me, who are you? Chusichi asked cautiously. The girl in black in front of her was similar in age to her, but she put great pressure on Chusichi. With her appearance, the entire classroom seemed to turn into a land of ice and snow, and a coldness engraved in the bones hit his face. Let me introduce myself. My name is Zhang Qianzhou. I am your student. I have seen you on my mobile phone. Zhang Qianzhou stared with cold eyes. Under the pressure of Zhang Qianzhou's powerful aura, Chusichi was like a frightened little rabbit hiding under the tree hole and trembling. Upon hearing this, Chusichi immediately understood that the girl in front of her had seen her sending so many messages to Shen Shucho. For a moment, Chusichi felt a little embarrassed, ashamed and angry. This made her feel as embarrassed as if her original wife had caught her as a mistress. Hello, classmate. Chusichi's eyes evaded and her tone stuttered. As the little princess of the Chu family, she had never experienced anything like this before. Moreover, the aura of the girl in black in front of her was too powerful, and her cold aura deeply shocked Chusichi. This scene was watched by the whole class. For a moment, the entire classroom began to whisper. What is the relationship between this girl and Shen Shucho? I don't know, but I feel like she is causing trouble for Chusichi. The way you look at Chusichi seems a little afraid of her. Hiss. I know, this must be a strange love triangle. Xiao Miao, who came in through the back door, had just sat down when she heard the comments from her classmates and couldn't help but look up. He looked at the two girls of similar appearance facing each other, but then his eyes rested on Shen Shucho's back. For some reason, an inexplicable feeling of familiarity arose in my heart. But Xiao Miao couldn't remember the sudden feeling of familiarity. We are all classmates. Although we are not familiar with each other, we have seen each other for 3 years. But where did that strange feeling of familiarity come from? Xiao Miao's brows knitted together tightly. The most nervous person was Shen Shucho. His whole body was filled with spiritual energy and he was ready to take action at any time. With Zhang Qianzhou's character, Shen Shuqiu was really afraid that she would kill someone without saying a word. Zhang Qianzhou's cold black eyes looked at the girl dodging in front of him, and his murderous intention flashed away. If you dare to approach Sir again, I will definitely kill you. Zhang Qianzhou secretly transmitted the message. Zhang Qianzhou only has one husband. Anyone who tries to influence him will be killed by Zhang Qianzhou. The reason why Zhang Qianzhou didn't kill Chu Siqi on the spot was because he didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble to his husband. After all, this was his home. Otherwise, with Zhang Qianzhou's decisive character, he would kill without wasting his breath. But when she didn't know what was going on, Zhang Qianzhou had many ways to make Chu Siqi disappear quietly. Chu Siqi's little face suddenly turned pale, and her beautiful eyes widened. Looking at the girl in black in front of her, Chu Siqi felt unknown fear in her heart. She obviously didn't speak, so why did the sound fall in her ears? Under the pressure of Zhang Qianzhou's strong aura, Chu Siqi almost collapsed. Apart from the unknown fear in her heart, there was also a sense of stubbornness supporting her. Looking at the trembling Chu Siqi, Shen Shuqiu knew that Zhang Qianzhou must have said something to her. Well, with a secret sigh, Shen Shuqiu transmitted the message to Zhang Qianzhou's ears. That's enough to scare her. Hearing this, Zhang Qianzhou withdrew his cold eyes, turned to Shen Shuqiu and whispered in his ear. Sir, while Qianzhou is away, please don't mess around with others. Zhang Qianzhou's eyes narrowed slightly, revealing a dangerous aura. Shen Shuqiu suddenly felt a burning sensation in his ears, and said expressionlessly, "It's time for you to leave." "Ha, sir, you are really cruel. Qianzhou will come back after leaving for a while." Zhang Qianzhou was not angry, and stretched out his little hand to tap Shen Shuqiu's chest. Then under the eyes of everyone eating melons, Zhang Qianzhou walked to the door of the class, looked back, smiled at Shen Shuqiu, and left. Holy crap, I was scared to death. After Zhang Qianzhou left, his desk mate Xu Yang patted his chest and said. Being around several people, Xu Yang deeply and intuitively felt the powerful aura of the girl in black. This was simply not the aura that a young girl could have. It gave Xu Yang the feeling that this young girl had killed someone before. Shen Shu, what is her relationship with you and why does she call you sir? Quote. Xu Yang also started gossiping. It doesn't matter. Shen Shuqiu prevaricates casually. It's not like you really had something happen to Chu Siqi and then got caught and raped by her, right? Xu Yang continued to ask in a low voice without giving up. Shen Shuqiu was too lazy to pay attention to him and simply refused to reply. He accidentally looked at the girl in front of him, and saw Chu Siqi lying on the desk, her shoulders shaking slightly, and a faint sound of sobbing could be heard. Shen Shuqiu, you still haven't comforted me. Chu Siqi's deskmate glared angrily. As soon as these words came out, Chu Siqi's sobbing voice gradually became smaller. Shen Shuqiu sighed helplessly. It was hard for him to do anything. After all, he didn't want to have too much contact with Chu Siqi from the beginning. Seeing that Shen Shuqiu was indifferent, Du Yu became even more angry and said, "Why are you like this? Your friend even made Chu Siqi cry with anger, and you still pretend not to see it." Yes, why is Shen Shuqiu such a person? Please apologize to Goddess Chu quickly. How could such a person exist? Please apologize to Goddess Chu quickly. For a moment, everyone in the classroom looked at Shen Shuqiu with hostile eyes. Ever since the last incident between Shen Shuqiu and Chu Siqi, a group of people in the class had long disliked Shen Shuqiu. They were taking this opportunity to criticize him verbally and writingly. Xiao Miao in the back row was interrupted from thinking, but her eyes kept looking at Shen Shuqiu, wanting to see what he would do. But Shen Shuqiu chose to pretend to be dead and turned to look out the window without saying a word. Seeing that something was wrong, Xu Yang, his deskmate, reached out and pulled Shen Shuqiu and said, "How about I apologize?" Shen Shuqiu didn't say anything. The more indifferent he showed now, maybe he could completely stop Chu Siqi's thoughts. No. At this moment, Chu Siqi's voice came. Then Chu Siqi turned around, her red eyes blurred by tears, and her small nose twitched slightly. This pitiful look immediately made more people feel distressed, and their hostility towards Shen Shuqiu became even greater. Of course, some people immediately gloated when they saw the two having a fight. Goddess Chu, a man like Shen Shucho is not worthy of your liking at all. The speaker was a boy in the last row of the class named Shang Zongrong, who was hanging out with Luo Hao. Shang Zongrong shouted loudly, secretly happy in his heart. He must tell Mr. Luo about this discovery. Chu Siqi glanced at him coldly and said, "Who I like is none of your business." Shang Zongrong's expression froze. Then Chu Siqi looked at Shen Shucho with a tearful face. Shen Shucho seemed to have not seen it and looked out the window to himself. Chu Siqi pursed her lips and seemed to have made up her mind. "Shen Shucho, I will never bother you again." After saying this, Chu Siqi took something out from under the desk and handed it to Shen Shucho. It was a pink stuffed bear, which Chu Siqi sewed stitch by stitch, and was originally intended to be given to Shen Shucho. Chu Siqi learned that bit by bit at home. In order to give it to someone, Chu Siqi's finger was pricked more than once. Chu Siqi, who had never been exposed to it since she was a child, resolutely completed the production of the pink bear step by step. They were all meant to be given to someone anyway, and Chu Siqi didn't want to keep them for herself. She would be annoyed when she saw them. Shen Shucho looked at the little bear lying on the desk out of the corner of his eye, and suddenly felt that he looked so ugly. On the little bear's chest are the 3 crooked characters, Shen Shucho. Dog man. Du Yu looked at Shen Shucho as if nothing had happened in a contemptuous tone. The first time, the last time, the last time. 118 years of the Tianwu True World. Huaxian Dao Sect. A girl in white sat by the familiar Yushan Lake. The girl's autumn eyes seemed to be filled with thoughts, and she stared absent-mindedly at the sparkling lake. The cool autumn breeze gently brushed the girl's hair, revealing a fair and beautiful face. Her eyes were clear and bright, as calm as autumn water, but she inadvertently revealed a trace of sadness. 3,000 black hairs were draped over her shoulders, dancing with the wind. The girl stood quietly, and a white jade flute quietly emerged in her jade-carved hands. The girl gently placed the flute to her cherry-red lips, her movements graceful and light, her eyes full of tenderness. Slightly closing her eyes, the girl began to play the flute, the sound of which flowed out like a spring, melodious and lingering, interweaving into a dreamlike melody in the air. This lingering and pleasant sound seemed to carry endless thoughts, and even the lake water gently rippled to match the sound of the flute. After a while, the clear and pleasant flute sound slowly stopped. "Are you thinking about him again?" At this time, a cold voice came from behind the girl. The girl looked up at the blue sky without looking back, and said softly, "I miss him every day." Wen Qingning's complex eyes stared at the girl in white in front of her. Ever since Zhang Qianqiu brought Wen Yunning out of the netherworld, she has become like this every day in the future. Wen Yunning became less talkative and often came to the Yushan Lake quietly. Wen Qingning saw it all, and she knew that her sister was still thinking about that man. Wen Qingning thought at first that maybe if time went on a little longer, Wen Yunning would slowly forget about him and start a new life. But as time went by, Wen Yunning not only did not forget the past, but the figure hidden in her heart continued to affect her more and more. "Sister, do you think Zhang Qianqiu will come back?" Wen Yunning asked softly. Wen Qingning sat quietly beside her and shook her head slightly, saying, "I don't know. It has been a whole 60 years since Zhang Qianqiu left, and a lot of changes have taken place in the past 60 years. The original Shuiyu Palace was renamed Huaxian Dao Sect by Wen Qingning, and she is now a famous cross-disaster master." With Zhang Qianqiu, Wen Qingning led Huaxian Dao Sect to develop into the first holy place in the world of cultivation. The Supreme Forgetting Love record was also modified, and now it is no longer the practice of forging the body with ruthlessness. What Wen Qingning has been most worried about in the past 60 years is her younger sister Wen Yunning. She is still as unwilling to practice as before, and her current strength is only at the Jindan stage. Wen Qingning will not force her. With her current status and strength, she is enough to protect Wen Yunning for the rest of her life. Hearing this, Wen Yunning felt bitter. Perhaps Zhang Qianqiu would not be willing to tell her if he found the young master. After coming back to life, Wen Yunning no longer hopes to snatch Shen Shucho from Zhang Qianqiu. Her only wish now is to hear that he is still alive. This is Wen Yuning's biggest ambition at the moment. If the ambition can be increased, it would be best for her to see him once. Young Master Shen, are you okay? Wen Yuning's deep thoughts looked into the distance through her eyes. After Zhang Qianqiu left, the atmosphere in the classroom became different. Most people stood up for Chu Siqi and attacked Shen Shuqiu. Especially Du Yu, who kept calling Shen Shuqiu a dog man over and over again. Shen Shuqiu didn't care much, because it was actually a good thing for both him and Chu Siqi. The two sides didn't contact each other, and there was less trouble. Now that Zhang Qianqiu had left for a while, Shen Shuqiu could at least have some free time. As for where Zhang Qianqiu went, Shen Shuqiu didn't care much, because her realm was there and no one could harm her. At this time, a paper ball was suddenly thrown in front of Shen Shuqiu from the front row, interrupting his thoughts. He looked up and saw that it was Du Yu. She kept gesturing with her hands, meaning that Shen Shuqiu should open the paper ball and take a look. Du Yu's little action did not hide from Chu Siqi. She stopped the little action in her hand, turned her face and quietly observed Shen Shuqiu from the window beside her. Shen Shuqiu just felt a little funny and opened the paper ball casually to look. It said inside, "Dog man, why don't you comfort Chu Siqi quickly?" After reading it expressionlessly, Shen Shuqiu crumpled it into a ball and threw it into the trash can. Chu Siqi turned away disappointedly. His face was gone, and the corners of his eyes were a little moist. This move made Du Yu's eyes bristle, and a pair of legs stretched out from under the desk to kick him. Shen Shuqiu frowned slightly, and at this moment, Lao Wang's figure walked in outside the classroom door. The noisy environment suddenly became quiet. "What are you two doing?" Lao Wang glanced at the two of them. "Du Yu kicked me." Shen Shuqiu raised his hands and said innocently. "Are you crazy?" Du Yu glared at him and cursed softly. "Ahem, everyone, calm down. Today is your last day here. You will follow me to take the final test. It's up to you whether you can get into the university of your dreams." Lao Wang ignored the two of them, coughed and said with a serious expression. As soon as these words came out, there was a sudden cry in the class, some were happy and some were worried. Then everyone followed Lao Wang to the testing room in an orderly manner. Their group was luckier and ranked at the front. After just one morning, everyone had finished testing. After taking a final look at Class 3 and 5, Shen Shuqiu packed up his things and walked out of the school gate. The familiar Rolls-Royce parked quietly at the school gate. A butler in formal attire opened the car door and Chu Siqi's petite figure got in. Soon the Rolls-Royce passed by Shen Shuqiu and sped away into the distance. Chu Siqi was in a low mood in the back seat of the car. Looking at Shen Shuqiu through the car window, I couldn't help but think of how I asked Shen Shuqiu for help that day. That night was Chu Siqi's most desperate moment, and it was also the night when Shen Shuqiu's figure broke into her heart. Shen Shuqiu's body was as if a god had descended from him, and his chest with a sense of security would linger in his mind every day in the future. But the thought of the deserted-looking woman in black she met at the desk today and the dangerous warning made Chu Siqi tremble. The most important thing was Shen Shuqiu's indifference, which completely disappointed Chu Siqi. There was a hint of self-mockery in the corner of his mouth, and there was a dull pain in his heart. It turns out that he already has someone he likes, and I was just moved by myself. Shen Shuqiu, I really will never bother you again. Chu Siqi thought silently in her heart. As the car drove farther and farther, Shen Shuqiu's figure gradually blurred until it disappeared. It seemed to indicate that there was no longer any possibility between them. Chu Siqi turned her head away. Fendai's little face forced herself to be calm, and held back tears from the corners of her eyes. "Classmate Shen, please stay." On the street, a voice from behind Shen Shuqiu stopped him. Shen Shuqiu stopped and took a look, and Xiao Miao ran over panting. Shen Shuqiu's eyes flashed and he said, "What's the matter?" "Classmate Xiao Miao." Xiao Miao's face turned red due to the intense running. She looked at Shen Shuqiu with a hint of expectation in her eyes and said, "Classmate Shen, may I ask where we have met before?" "We met in the classroom and we meet now. What's wrong?" Shen Shuqiu pretended to be confused. "Not this, I mean, have we seen it somewhere else?" Xiao Miao shook her head and said. Shen Shuqiu was slightly shocked. He had clearly cast an illusion, so why could she still have any impression of it? He was confused in his heart, but still had doubts on his lips. "No. We seem to have met on the bus once." "Then are there any more?" Xiao Miao remembered that she did see Shen Shucho on the bus once. But his intuition told Xiao Miao that it wasn't that time, they must have met somewhere else. Shen Shucho's eyes moved slightly, and he casually prevaricated, I can't remember. If there is nothing else, classmate Xiao Miao, I will leave first. It's important to escape first. They won't see each other after today anyway. Shen Shucho is really afraid that if he stays any longer, Xiao Miao will really remember it, which will be another trouble. Xiao Miao's pretty face suddenly showed a hint of disappointment and said, oh. Okay, student Shen, please slow down on the road. Ah, you too. Shen Shucho hummed and left immediately. Xiao Miao stayed where she was and Shen Shucho's figure walked further and further away. The familiar feeling in my heart became clearer. Have we really never met? Xiao Miao murmured to herself. The ancient city of Langsing is full of strange things. In the northernmost part of Langsing Wagwo, there is a majestic Zion mountain range. It is like a giant dragon, winding through the broken valley, and the mountains are towering into the clouds. It is surrounded by purple clouds all year round, adding a sense of mystery. Since the revival of spiritual energy 40 years ago, a void crack has been torn in the deepest part of the Zion mountain range. Various monsters often breed from it, and the Mingyu Bureau is full of armed personnel on the periphery. A large number of detectors are surrounding the entire Zion mountain range for a full-scale survey. Once a monster wants to come out of it, the Mingyu Bureau will suppress it with powerful force as soon as possible. At this moment, in the deepest part of Zion mountain range, dozens of monsters of different sizes gathered beside a lake full of purple crystals. The only thing in common is that the aura of these monsters is that of great monsters in the Jindan period. If the Mingyu Bureau outside knew about this, they would be shocked. The harm caused by these dozens of great monsters in the Jindan period once they appeared in the world would be catastrophic. However, these monsters are all crawling in one direction at this moment, as if waiting for something to come. The cruel pupils in the past all changed to a trace of respect, quietly looking at the calm lake. The next moment, a whirlpool appeared in the center of the purple lake, and a graceful and beautiful woman poked out from it. She was wearing a luxurious palace dress, as if she had walked out of an ancient scroll. The color of the clothes was as bright as the morning glow, and the collar of the palace dress was raised high, revealing her white neck and collarbone, with graceful lines like a swan. The beautiful woman slowly walked out of the lake, exuding a noble and cold temperament with every step. The beautiful woman's face exudes a unique charm, and her delicate skin is like silky satin, with a faint blush. A long, snow-white, crystal-clear hair hangs on her shoulders like a veil. Under her willow leaf eyebrows, a pair of bright eyes are like a deep lake, and the eyes seem to hide thousands of words. With every frown and movement, she exudes a charming posture. It's been 3 years, and I finally waited for you. The beautiful woman looked into the distance gracefully. The eyes with flowing water waves seemed to penetrate everything in the world. This crystal lake temporarily stores my demonic aura. Let's take these 3 years as a reward for your protection for me. Now I'm going out to find my destined person. The beautiful woman said lightly. King, we don't want you to leave. A demon beast behind him spoke in human language. The rest of the monsters were also reluctant to leave. How dare you? The beautiful woman's eyes were cold. Instantly, a sense of oppression from the superiors in the bloodline descended. Several monsters felt the horrible sense of death and dared not breathe. No one can stop me from finding him. Whoever blocks me will die, even if you guard me for 3 years. The beautiful woman said coldly. Farewell, Your Majesty. A group of Jindan stage monsters did not dare to ask for attention. He, you can't run away. The beautiful woman smiled with her hands covering her mouth, her eyebrows full of longing. The next moment, the beautiful woman changed her figure, and then she changed from the charming appearance just now to a cute snow-white little fox. She licked her hair gently, turned her eyes and ran towards the exit in a hop-and-hop manner. A group of Jindan stage monsters behind her widened their pupils in an anthropomorphic way, with an incredible look on their faces. The beautiful woman came here 3 years ago and has been recuperating in the purple crystal lake. Their group of monsters did not reach the golden elixir stage at the beginning. They all grew up by absorbing the demonic energy emitted by the beautiful woman. Now, I never thought that the one emitting the demonic energy was actually a little fox. Soon the little fox left the Zion Mountains and sniffed the clear smell in the air to find the direction in his heart. At the moment when the little fox ran out, a sleepy young man in combat uniform suddenly woke up in a nearby base. Looking at the alarm on the detector, he pressed the red alarm button in a panic. In a moment, a group of footsteps pushed open the door and walked in. A middle-aged man with a dignified look asked, "What's going on, Xiao Zhou?" "Report to Captain Wang, a monster ran out of the Zion Mountains." Xiao Zhou said nervously. "How did you find out after running out?" Captain Wang frowned. Xiao Zhou swallowed his saliva. "I don't know, maybe the detector is slow to respond." "But what realm can be detected?" Captain Wang asked hurriedly. Xiao Zhou's face was tense and he didn't dare to answer for a while. Captain Wang saw this and his heart skipped a beat. He quickly stepped forward. "Walk up to the dashboard and take a look." After seeing it clearly, his whole body trembled violently, and he slammed the table. "I'm playing with you." 3 red unknown question marks on the instrument panel go straight to the soul. Shen Shucho lay comfortably on the sofa, feeling how relaxed he was now. "Without Zhang Qianzhou here, the air is so fresh. I happily ordered a barbecue and opened a bottle of cold beer." After just one bottle, Shen Shucho's face turned slightly red. "Why are you so drunk?" Shen Shucho rubbed his head and said depressedly. What Shen Shucho drank was a 330 milliliters bottle. This is a 640 milliliters bottle, so don't fall asleep on the spot. Boom, boom, boom. At this time, there was a knock on the door outside. Shen Shucho looked confused. Who would knock on his door? Then he used his true energy to dissolve the alcohol, and he felt quite sober. He came to the door and opened it to take a look. There was a girl standing outside the door, but she looked very strange. Is this classmate Shen Shucho? When the girl saw Shen Shucho's rather slovenly appearance, she frowned slightly but still asked politely. Shen Shucho was wearing pajamas and a nightgown. There were still some stains on them that had not been washed away, and his hair was quite messy. Shen Shucho didn't care about the girl's subtle expression. How I stayed at home had nothing to do with anyone else. Shen Shucho leaned in front of the door and said, "Who are you? Aren't you going to invite me in to sit down?" The girl kept a professional smile. "No, I'm timid. If you have anything to say, just say it here." Shen Shucho had no intention of letting the other party come in and sit down. His eyes were harmless and a little wary. The girl bit her silver teeth lightly, complaining in her heart. "Are you crazy? That look in your eyes, are you afraid that I will eat you?" "This classmate, I am the recruiter of Shenwu University. My surname is Lin. You can call me Senior Sister Lin. We have found out that you are qualified to enter Shenwu University, so I would like to ask if you are interested now." Senior Sister Lin tried her best to keep smiling. "Oh, bring it." Shen Shucho said. "Oh, what are you bringing?" Senior Sister Lin was slightly startled. "Bring the pen, don't you want to sign?" Shen Shucho said impatiently. Senior Sister Lin reacted and took out a booklet and a pen from her bag. After Shen Shucho took it, he quickly filled in his name. "There is another page behind the class, fill in the subjects you want to apply for." Senior Sister Lin reminded me kindly. Shen Shucho glanced slightly. The university is divided into the Kendo department, the sword art department, the formation department, the technique department, the physique department, the spiritual mind department and some other less popular ones. Among them, the first 5 subjects are the most popular, especially the Kendo subject, which has the largest number of people. After all, no one has the idea of going to the end of the world with a sword. The Shen Yen subject was more difficult and had the smallest number of people, so Shen Shucho decisively put a check mark here. Senior Sister Lin took the brochure and looked at it. When she saw that the other party chose the telepathy subject, she was a little surprised and said, "Student Shen, this telepathy subject is more difficult. I advise you to choose another one." Shen Shucho waved his hand. "No need, just leave if you have nothing else to do. There will be a virtual document in the mailbox later. I need Student Shen to fill it out." Senior Sister Lin quickly added. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the door was closed tightly. Senior Sister Lin could no longer maintain her smiling face and cursed fiercely at Shen Shucho inside the gate. "Are you crazy?" Lin Ziyi cursed fiercely at Shen Shucho's back door. Then he was about to go downstairs, when he bumped into another woman. Lin Ziyi frowned immediately when she saw the person coming. The girl in front of her was wearing a black lace miniskirt, with a pair of seductive long legs wrapped in black silk underneath. The most amazing thing is the two towering mountains on the chest, which jump up and down with the owner. The exposed snow-white skin, as well as the rouge-pink color, can vaguely see the charming spring scenery, which makes people think a lot. Compared with the girl in front of him, Lin Ziyi just wished he could wrap himself up in bed and get out. Shui Wen, why are you here? Lin Ziyi said angrily. You, Lin Ziyi, can show up here, why can't I? Shui Wen lifted her hair from her ears and said with a smile. Don't think about it, I have already signed this person. Lin Ziyi snorted coldly. How could she not know what Shui Wen was thinking? These recruiters all signed up voluntarily, and whoever recruits more recruits will be rewarded, including money and training supplies. There is still some time before freshmen report to the university, and those who have signed may be snatched away by others. In previous years, Shui Wen had the most applicants among the recruiters of Shenwu University. The most important thing was the characterful clothes she wore and the coquettish demeanor she wore. The young man was not confused after seeing her. Maybe this little brother will change his mind. Shui Wen didn't care, of course she knew that Lin Ziyi had signed it, and she came here just to discuss her. The two often didn't get along with each other in school. Slut. Lin Jiji snorted coldly. Hee hee, Sister Lin, you can be cute too. Shui Wen smiled charmingly and admitted in disguise. HMPH, then you may have made a mistake. Lin Ziyi sneered. Thinking of Shen Shuchou's impatient look just now, Lin Ziyi felt angry. He simply wasn't in a hurry to leave, and was ready to see how Shui Wen would suffer. Senior Lin, just take a good look. Shui Wen walked to the door and stretched out her pink hand to knock. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as Shen Shuchou walked to the sofa and sat down, he heard the door ring again. Reluctantly, he stood up and opened the door, only to see another girl standing outside the door. The senior Lin just now was watching not far away. Shui Wen was also slightly startled when she saw Shen Shuchou, but she reacted quickly. Following the precedent, she lifted up her forehead and hair, showing her charm and enchantment in every gesture. Hello, this handsome boy. Shui Wen's numb voice came from Hongyan's lips. Lin Ziyi, who was behind him, felt numb all over when he heard the sound, as if there were insects crawling around. Oh, Shen Shuchou replied expressionlessly. Shen Shuchou's unwavering reaction made Shui Wen slightly stunned. Normally when those little boys see me, they want to take off their eyes and put them in their arms. Why is this reaction different from those boys in the past? But he was not discouraged. He stretched out his hand to tighten the black stockings on his legs, intentionally or unintentionally, and continued in a soft voice, Brother, can it be convenient for my sister to go in and sit down? As the eyes rolled around, there was a hint of spring. How much? Shen Shuchou said lightly. Shui Wen was stunned again and said with a puzzled expression, How much does it cost? Shen Shuchou pointed at her without revealing his expression. Shui Wen immediately understood something with a puzzled expression, and a touch of warm anger appeared on her pretty face. Little brother, what are you talking about? My sister is not who you think. She is an recruiter at Shenwu University. Shui Wenjiao said angrily. This makes him look even more endearing. Why are you standing here? Shen Shuchou pretended to be disappointed. Shui Wen, hey, no, sister wants to ask you if you want to sign under my name. Shui Wen was hit by Shen Shuchou one after another, and her whole person became worse. Then it's not impossible for you to give me money. Shen Shuchou stretched out his hand and said. Shui Wen's whole body was completely stagnant, with an angry look on his face. This junior, why are you like this? I don't have any money, why are you wasting my time? If you don't leave, I'll report you for molestation. Shen Shuchou finished speaking calmly. The door was closed again with a bang. Are you crazy? Shui Wen stamped her feet angrily. Ha 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 ha. Lin Ziyi laughed so hard that her stomach ached. Why are you laughing at that fool? Shui Wen couldn't help but cursed at Lin Ziyi. What's wrong, Shui Wen, the old tricks don't work anymore. Lin Ziyi mocked. Then I can recruit more people than an iron fool like you. It's not too hot to wear so many clothes in the summer. Shui Wen said coldly. I want you to take care of it, slightly. Lin Ziyi was in a good mood, and the gloom just now was gone. Going downstairs with cheerful steps, Shui Wen angrily stamped her feet again and remembered Shen Shuchou's 3 names fiercely, and then followed her downstairs. After walking out of the community, Lin Ziyi found that Shui Wen was still following her. He turned around and said dissatisfiedly, "Shui Wen, are you a dog? Keep following me. If the next girl is a girl, why don't you grab her too? Who said that the woman belongs to you? If you are afraid, just leave as soon as possible." Shui Wen made up her mind to make Lin Ziyi suffer today. "Who is afraid of you?" Lin Ziyi snorted coldly. Holding the report in hand, he headed in the next direction. Soon a taxi stopped outside the Bishui Villa area. Villa number 3 is classmate Chu Siki's home. The two got out of the car one after another, and Lin Ziyi walked into the villa area with the address on the report. Shui Wen followed coldly. Looking at the surrounding luxurious villas, Shui Wen's eyes were full of envy. This time, Chu Siqi was the famous little princess of the Chu family in Su City. Shui Wen was determined to grab a classmate with such a background. Although Lin Ziyi was envious in her heart, she knew that people have their own lives, and there is no use in trying to flatter him due to different circumstances. Soon they arrived at villa number 3 and politely rang the doorbell. Soon a butler opened the door, explained his purpose, and brought the two of them in. Sitting on the sofa, a servant served fruit tea. Shui Wen looked at all the luxurious things in the villa, and her thoughts became even more firm. If you want to make friends with such a girl, the benefits you will only get bigger and bigger. The two of them waited slowly like this, and soon Chu Siqi walked out of the elevator wearing pink pajamas. The moment Chu Siqi appeared, the two people on the sofa were stunned. The beautiful face with no makeup on her face looks like a petite and exquisite little princess walking out of a fairy tale town, holding a pink doll in her arms. A pair of touching bright eyes were a little dim, but his whole body carried a coldness that could repel people thousands of miles away. Chu Siqi in front of her seemed to be in a bad mood, Lin Ziyi guessed. "You are so beautiful, Junior Chu Siqi. I am Shui Wen, the recruiter of Shenwu University. If Junior Chu Siqi doesn't mind, you can call me Sister Shui." Shui Wen said first. Chu Siqi sat quietly on the sofa without speaking, holding the doll tightly in her arms, with a melancholy look in her eyes. "Is there anything unhappy about Sister Chu Siqi? You can talk to Sister Shui." Shui Wen also seemed to notice that Chu Siqi in front of her was not in a good mood. Lin Ziyi did not choose to interrupt, and saw a name on the doll with clear eyes. Shen Shuchou. Lin Ziyi was slightly shocked. What was the relationship between Chu Siqi and Shen Shuchou? Why did the doll she held have the 3 characters, Shen Shuchou, on it? Is it a coincidence? Lin Ziyi guessed, but denied it. "My last classmate Shen Shuchou also signed up for Shenwu University." Lin Ziyi spoke tentatively. Sure enough, as soon as these words came out, Chu Siqi, who had lowered her head and said nothing, suddenly raised her head. Lin Ziyi clearly saw a strange color in those sad eyes. "I thought in my heart, it is indeed so." Shui Wen snorted coldly in her heart, seemingly dissatisfied with Lin Ziyi's interruption. But when Shen Shuchou was mentioned, Shui Wen became even more angry. "Sister Chu Siqi, that Shen Shuchou is not a good person. Compared with you, he is nothing but heaven and earth. That guy is also extremely rude." Shui Wen complained immediately. "If you want to make Chu Siqi happy by stepping on her, won't she sign it under her own name?" Lin Jiji was too interested to interrupt and looked at Shui Wen with a pig-like expression. When Chu Siqi heard Shen Shuchou's name again, her heart trembled. When she heard Shui Wen's various complaints about Shen Shuchou's bad deeds, her eyes turned completely cold. Meanwhile, Shui Wen was still talking tirelessly, belittling Shen Shuchou and praising Chu Siqi, but she didn't notice that the coldness in the air was getting lower and lower. "Enough!" A cold voice interrupted Shui Wen. Shui Wen was stunned for a moment, but when she saw Chu Siqi's cold face, her heart trembled unconsciously. "What is he like? When do you need to judge? What are you? Now get out of here." Chu Siqi stared coldly. "Sister Chu Siqi, listen to me." Shui Wen broke into a cold sweat and wanted to say something else, but Chu Siqi stopped her again. "Go away. Don't make me say it for the 3rd time." Chu Siqi pointed at the door and shouted coldly. Shui Wen walked out of the Bishui Villa area dejectedly. "Chu Siqi, who was normal one second, was furious with her the next. The reason for all this was just a few words about the young man named Shen Shucho. Shui Wen is not stupid. She knows that the young man named Shen Shucho is very important to Chu Sichi. But Shui Wen was still unable to connect the two people. One is a sloppy boy who lives in an old neighborhood, and the other is the famous little princess of the Chu family in Su City. According to a woman's intuition, Chu Sichi seemed to like Shen Shucho. Shui Wen never understood what was so good about that sloppy boy. Could he win the favor of the little princess of the Chu family just because of his handsome face? Shui Wen just felt that it was really unlucky that she didn't read the almanac when she went out today. Senior sister Shui hasn't left yet. At this time, a strange voice sounded from behind. Lin Ziyi gave him a contemptuous look. Iron fool, what are you so proud of? You just signed too. I still signed more than you. Looking at the proud Lin Ziyi, Shui Wen had a dark look on her face. There's nothing to be proud of. The main thing is that I like to see senior sister Shui being defeated. Lin Ziyi chuckled. Originally, Chu Sichi had signed up for a university in the next city, but after learning that Shen Shucho had signed up for Shenwu University, she decided to sign over. Unlike Shui Wen, who knew how to flatter, she deserved to be kicked out because she didn't know how to observe. Although it was difficult for her to connect the two of them, Lin Ziyi was very sensible and didn't gossip too much. Lin Ziyi felt extremely beautiful after seeing Shui Wen deflated twice in a row today. Don't think that if you sign Chu Sichi, others will give you benefits. Shui Wen snorted coldly. Do you think I'm a brainless fool like you? Learn more when you have time. Don't let your little brain capacity go to your head. Lin Ziyi raised the corners of her mouth, sneered, and then stopped wasting any more time with her and headed to the next address. It's just that I'm older than you, you fool. Shui Wen stomped her feet in disbelief. After saying that, Shui Wen headed in the opposite direction. She felt that it was not appropriate to go against Lin Ziyi today. In the villa, Chu Sichi sat on the sofa and did not get up for a long time. The pink doll with Shen Shucho written on it in her arms has been unwilling to let go. Since returning after the college entrance examination, Chu Sichi has been shutting herself in her room and cried countless times. Zhang Qianzhou's words lingered in his mind, and Shen Shucho often appeared in his mind. As soon as he got home, he blocked Shen Shucho's contact information, and then secretly pulled it out a few minutes later. Chu Sichi often stared blankly at her cell phone, wondering whether Shen Shucho would comfort her or send her a message. Chu Sichi didn't want to miss it. What disappointed her was that there had been no news about Shen Shucho in the past few days. Completely disappointed, Chu Sichi wanted to leave the city, so she signed up for another university. But when she heard Shen Shucho's name again today, Chu Sichi's heart that gave up started beating again. Chu Sichi did not hesitate and decisively transferred to Shenwu University because of the words Shen Shucho. This decision also strengthened Chu Sichi's thoughts in disguise. She wants to fight, so what if the danger of the girl in black rang in my ears? Chu Sichi couldn't help but remember that Shen Shucho once told her that it was dangerous to contact him. At first, Chu Sichi just thought this was a reason to scare her, but now it seems that it is the truth. It is undeniable that Chu Sichi was scared at that moment in class. After all, she was a 17-year-old girl in her prime, so she would naturally be scared when encountering such a situation. But things were different now. Chu Sichi decided to look directly into her heart and face that person. Since she was a child, Chu Sichi has never had any affection for her peers except for her parents' affection. Now, Chu Sichi just wants to fight at all costs, even if you just look at him from a distance. Why should Shen Shucho be yours? I, Chu Sichi, am no different. Come on, Chu Sichi, you are the best. Chu Sichi clenched her little pink fist to cheer herself up. She really wanted to see Shen Shucho now, but she didn't know how to do it. Chu Sichi was a little troubled, and then she seemed to think of something. He picked up his cell phone and sent a message to his deskmate. I'll treat you to a class reunion tonight. Find some familiar classmates to come. The place will be Jinline Hotel. I'll send you a private room later. Chu Sichi, you are so smart. It's normal for classmates to have a reunion. Chu. After sending the message, Sichi didn't forget to compare herself. Du Yu on the other end was overjoyed when he received the news and quickly agreed, "Don't worry, Sichi. I'll take care of it." Du Yu is not stupid either. How could he not know that the dignified and aloof Miss Chu must be treating someone to meet someone? But thanks to Shen Shucho, she had the opportunity to talk to Chu Sichi. Du Yu quickly contacted a group of people, and finally found Shen Shucho's profile picture in the group and clicked on the private chat. "Classmate Shen Shucho, there is a party tonight, please be sure to come. Don't go." As soon as Du Yu finished sending the message, Shen Shucho, who was lying on the bed watching TV dramas, immediately replied, "No, you have to come." Du Yu replied anxiously that this was Chu Siki's task and she must complete it well. Shen Shucho was too lazy to reply to her, so he blocked her. "Did you hear that, Du Yu?" Soon the time came to 9 o'clock in the evening. At night in Sioux City, the stars are dotted and the colorful neon lights add a touch of style to the city. Jinline Hotel, in Box 000. Everyone from Class 3 to Class 5 sat in a circle. Du Yu called not many people, only about 10 people. Among them is Shen Shucho's deskmate Xu Yang. Du Yu originally invited Xiao Miao, but because it was very late, Xiao Miao was worried about her mother and did not choose to come. There were 7 men and 3 women in total, and the most eye-catching one was Chu Sichi in the main seat. Chu Sichi wore a purple dress today, like a blooming violet. The long silk skirt gently wrapped her slender body, flowing from her body to the floor like water waves. The long tube-top skirt is made of tiny pearls, which are scattered on the skirt, making it elegant and noble. The water in the starry eyes with water-cut pupils seemed to be expecting something. Everyone sat around the round table, chatting and laughing with each other. They all knew who Chu Sichi was hosting the banquet to meet tonight. "Which of you notified Shen Shucho? Why haven't you come yet?" Chen Nan said. "Shen Shucho, this idiot, this guy, blocked me." Du Yu suddenly became angry and wanted to scold him, but then he thought about Chu Sichi still sitting next to him. "You didn't tell me earlier." Chen Nan was speechless. Even Chu Sichi frowned slightly. Du Yu saw that something was wrong and said quickly, "I asked Xu Yang to inform him." "Xu Yang, did you say so?" Du Yu glared at Xu Yang who was playing with his mobile phone. "Ah, I forgot." Xu Yang scratched his head and said embarrassedly. "Then why don't you send it quickly?" "No, call him directly." Oh. Seeing everyone looking at him, Xu Yang quickly called Shen Shucho. "I don't know what you know, little brother, so I'll tell you the song title." "Bring it on." Dreaming of Plateau Red, dreaming of camel bells. In your dream, you are drunk and in love with each other. I love you when I visit the new city. Only if I love to work hard will I win. This unique bell sounded in the box. Puff. Chen Nan almost spit out his tea. After a while, after answering the phone, Xu Yang turned on the speakerphone and placed it on the table. "Hello." Shen Shucho's lazy voice sounded. When she heard Shen Shucho's voice, Chu Siki's eyes moved. "Shen Shucho, come quickly. Everyone is waiting for you." Xu Yang shouted. "Don't go." Shen Shucho replied. "Stop nagging, everyone is waiting for you, come here quickly." Chen Nan added. "If you say you won't go, you won't go. If it doesn't matter, I'll hang up." Toot toot. Shen Shucho hung up the phone without waiting for Xu Yang to continue speaking. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.